And we have an incredible audience right here. Shout out to every dogged Nigerian going out there, getting your daily bread, regardless of the price of fuel or the price of food. But we have an amazing audience here. Put your hands together for yourself, because it's not easy to be, where we are today. So definitely, we're going to be taking questions from this audience and also from social media for incredible panelists that will be breaking down the issues at this point. It's not about the problems. We're looking for solutions.
Yeah,
so right here, I'm going to be giving out notes so you can send your questions in. And definitely, it's going to definitely be a joyful ride as we search for the solutions to economic problems.
We certainly do need those solutions, Ladi. And as you mentioned, we do have a house full of panelists also right here. They will obviously be contributing to that. So it's going to be a robust, how many hours? You don't want to miss any moment of it. So let's start right off by giving you the picture of our economy at this time. So I'll just walk over to where we have that data. I know you live with this reality every day. We talk about inflation. It's not just a number. You are feeling it in your pockets. So, but let's just bring that back home at this time. So we start with what we have right now as headline inflation in our country. Yes, in October 2023, about this time last year, 27.33%. By August, we had 32.15%. And note, this is after 2 consecutive drop in the numbers. So 2.25% increase in spite of that drop that we've had. That's inflation. It's not just a number. Check your purchasing power. You would see that reflecting the drop in the value. Then we also have, in response to this, the Central Bank and the Monetary Policy Authority Committee have been very busy. We've seen very hawkish stance to tame inflation, because it is believed that there'll be no development when there's high inflation. So we've seen interest rates really being increased. So by January, we had seen interest rate at 18.75%. By September, it's gone up to 27.25%. That means if you want to borrow, you have to pay more interest. And what does this do? It reduces the rate of borrowing. Members of the real sector feel the pinch. I'm sure you hear that from them. So it's been about 8.5% since the present CBN governor got into power. There's been increase on interest rate about 8.5%. Then there's the debt. Yes, because debt servicing is a major one. We've seen borrowings from the government to fund the budget. And so we've seen debt stock in the country has been a topic in the last 12 months. According to Debt Management Office, the debt in Nigeria is about 97.34 trillion naira. There you have it, in dollars, because some of them are in dollars, so it's more realistic to have them in dollars. About 108.23 billion naira at December 2023, and that's 146% higher than 39.56% at the end of 2022. A worrying one, because it means even with the money, the revenue that comes from crude and hopefully the non-oil sector, it will be used to service trade. In spite of this, we've seen our population grow, and I think Ladi has the numbers for that.
Yep. Definitely, we have those numbers. And, when you talk about growth and development, definitely you need to also watch how your population, is growing at this time. So definitely, I'm going to be bringing you details of how we're going, when it comes to growth of Nigeria's population. If you look at the data, we're going to dig deep into that data now. We can see that Nigeria's population definitely has increased a lot from when we gained independence. If you look at our population number now, 232 million right there of Nigerians, and urban population there takes about roughly 53% of that population. And if you put that together with our economic growth rate, then you see that if we're growing at about 2.5% every year, and we have economic growth rate of, say, about 3% or less than 3%, then you see when you take that out from your economic growth and your population growth rate, you see that there's not enough growth for the economy. And definitely that plays into, the resources available. That's for every Nigerian. If you also look at the population growth rate for 2023, 2.52%, that's what we have. We see the major facts of Nigeria's population growth. We're seeing we're growing at a 2.4 to 2.5% yearly. And if you've been following the data with our GDP report, the last one we got was about 3-something%. So we see we should be growing even more economically than our population. We also see Nigeria ranking number 6 in the list of countries and dependencies by population. So definitely there's a lot to do when it comes to matching our growth rate with our economic growth rate, so that every Nigerian can have, a good quality of life. So, definitely a lot to unpack there, and
yes,
we need to see how we can balance growth, population growth, and economic growth.
Certainly, Ladi, we need to see how we can balance that. But in spite of this, Nigeria has been managing its affairs for 64 years, 25 years of unbroken democracy, and to many, this should be celebrated. We have some goodwill messages now. First, from the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, and then talking about population and the health of the people, we have the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mr. Muhammad Ali Patti, and then we'll be back.
It is our 64th anniversary, and to congratulate all of us on this upcoming independence, and to say that it is a very, very important milestone, and one that we should really take pride in. As I said earlier, 25 years of unbroken democratic governance is no mean feat, given the relative youth of Nigeria as a nation. So kudos all round to all of us, and I think the charge to all of us is to maintain and improve on what we've got through determination, through commitment, and through collaboration with each other as Nigerians, as human beings.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had set out a vision for a prosperous country that is people-oriented. And within that vision, the health and well-being of Nigeria's population had been a very significant part of that agenda that he had laid out. Over the last 1 year, we worked hard to establish the building blocks for revamping and transforming Nigeria's health system. And there are very concrete things that we had done. If you recall, on December 12, 2023, we signed a compact between the federal government, 36 state government, and 17 development partners, the Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. Research and development is also part of that. Clinical research capacity development, we have built the governance infrastructure for that, a research ethics committee, a research committee that comprises Nigerians in the diaspora and Nigerians at home, and a clinical research capacity program that we're doing in collaboration with Purpose Africa. It hasn't yet started, but that's our vision, what we're trying to do, so that Nigeria becomes a contributor to global knowledge. And with good science, we know that the science can then be commercialized over time, and that will contribute to Nigeria's GDP, will create jobs to Nigerians. So in sum, this administration has done over a 1-year period really significant laying of the foundation, and we're seeing the beginnings of that transformation, which, if sustained, will make Nigeria a very important player in health in Africa, but also globally.
So that's it, some reason to celebrate and to look at the brighter side of it from both ministers. We'll have more messages, obviously, as we go on the program, but let's delve into the reason we're here, which is to get a solution. And we know that, well, they say a hungry man is an angry man. There's nothing you can do. So the first thing would be, let's talk about how we can feed ourselves. And it's no longer news that Nigeria can feed itself. But why are we not feeding ourselves? We've seen food inflation hit 37%, and that's after the drop. So to discuss this, this panel, we'll start with His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, right here, Dr. Kadri Hamzat. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Independence to you.
Thank you.
And then also we have, well, all the way from Kaduna State. He came just for this purpose, and we really appreciate that. Commissioner of Agriculture for Kaduna State, Mr. Murtala Dabo. Thank you so much. And thank God for a safe trip.
Thank you very much. Happy Independence.
Wish you the same.
Thank you.
Well, not too far from Lagos, but still traveled here from Osun State. We have the Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security. We have Otumba Tola Fasheru also joining us. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me here. Happy Independence.
And wish you the same. And to give us, well, another view of all and knowing the challenge you've been having in ensuring food security in country is someone who brings the security perspective to it. He's a former AIG Zone 2 covering Lagos and Ogun State. We have Dr. Bala Hassan. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, and happy Independence to you.
Nice for having me. Happy Independence to you and all Nigerians.
All right, so let's start with Deputy Governor. Deputy Governor, I know that well, Lagos State will have a lot to boast. I live in Lagos, so I do hear and see you have your Sunday market, you have the mail and all of that. But I guess we cannot really celebrate that if Nigerians are still hungry. So Lagos cannot stand on its own. So while Lagos would beat its chest to say they have done a lot, we would ask how much impact is the lots in Lagos making in the life of Nigerians as a whole?
Thank you very much. So I think it's important to understand that from position of Lagos, so we occupy 0.4% of the landmass of this country, but we populate our state with 10% of Nigerians. So what that means is the density is very high. Because we are the smallest in terms of land, but we are the most populous. What that means is there's not enough land for agriculture. There is some, but there's not enough. So when you compare it to a state like Niger, Niger is about 7.9% of the population, of the land mass of Nigeria, compared to 0.4%. So Ogun State is about 4 times bigger than us in terms of land, but the population is 3 million. So what that means is that the land available for agriculture in Lagos. So what do we then decide to do? Because we know we don't have enough land. So this country, for example, consumes 40 million bags of rice a year, okay? But Lagos, you can be sure, takes about 30% of that. So what that means for us, that's why we say, okay, let's build a rice mill that can process it. And then we have arrangement with other states in terms of partnership. We have land in Osun State. We have an agreement with Niger State. But because of the insurgency, the paddies were not produced enough. So that's part of the challenge that we have. So for Lagos, our area is training people, empowering the people that actually get involved in agriculture. A lot of our women across Badagry to Ikorodu. So we identified our area of where we have competitive advantage. Fisheries, for example. Tomato, surprisingly. So tomato. We have an area in Badagry, Dadilui, they call the place. It's an island. We have 200 women farming, 200 hectares of land there. You need to go there, it's extensive. So what we do is how do we empower them? How do we make it easier for them in terms of production? But most importantly, we also now we are building a logistic hub in Emota, the biggest in this part of the world. What that does for us is it allows us to track what comes to Lagos. So Lagos, interestingly, we slaughter cows like 3,000 every day. So where are they coming from? How can we track it? How can we make sure that today, if anything happens, our veterinary doctors slaughter them and burn them off to prevent diseases. But we need to do better. What that means is, so if it's coming from Kano, for example, we can say, oh, Kano, you have this problem with your car, so stop it, let's help us treat it, and then we stop it. So the same thing, and then we'll be able to store grains for 9 months. So let's say production stops around the world. We should be able to store for 9 months and see what we're doing. So that's what we are building. And then we are building small markets, like the one in Idioro, where you and me can go. What that does for us is it gives us data. So today, we know that within 4 months, we know that those women and men selling in that market makes 2.1 billion naira. So we know that information. We also know that because they are now aggregating their produce and everything, the cost of logistics has gone down by 40% because they can get a trailer and then they move in. Also because there is dry storage, there is wet storage, and so on. They can actually store their products. So tomatoes stay longer because it can be stored there if it's not sold. So that's what Lagos intends to do. Partnership with other states that has the land. After all, people come to Lagos to build their houses. We can also go there to go and farm in other states. And then 2, make sure that we have enough market to aggregate and also reduce the effect of the middlemen. Now, middlemen, they are doing a great job. It's a business. But it also allows sometimes for price gouging. So what we're trying to do is at the hub, there will be a trading floor where people, consumers, small middlemen can actually get products that gets directly to the market so that it reduces the prices and then we are able to bulk them. So that's what we are doing, training a lot of, in Araga we are training rice production, but because we don't have enough land, we cannot produce enough to feed our meal. So we need to rely on other states, for example, to make sure that we get that.
Deputy Governor, I'm sure there'll be some questions as to while all of these laudable plans and projects are going on, how much of the population or residents of Lagos actually know about it and participate, in it? Because having the great project is one thing, but sometimes it seems there's a gap between the government and the people.
Well, so, the third president of the United States, and you can imagine that's 18-something. Thomas Jefferson says, no nation will develop when citizens are not well informed. And it goes both ways. So, for example, if you ask in this audience, what is the website of Lagos State? You understand? The information are there. The information is there. So, for us in this state, every year, because for government, everything is about budgeting. So your development starts from your budget. To do our budget, we go across every sector of the state. We go to villages, we go to Ekpe, we go to Badagry, we meet people. Where we actually get information. What do you want us to do in your community? So at the end of the day, it might come to 7 trillion, but our budget is 2-point-something trillion. We know that we can't do everything, but at least people have a feed into the information, the things that we want to do. So we actually communicate with people, you understand? So the issue for us is how do we communicate with our people better? So we need to find a way to do better. But in terms of communication, we are actually giving out those information. And there is nothing that we do that is not on our website, that we don't push out newspapers and so on and so forth. So how do we do it? Interestingly, even in 2024, you know that we still go to market and make noise on microphone today in Lagos. We still do that. So that if you are not reading the newspaper, if you are not on social media, if you don't listen to radio, if you can't go to our website, we still go to people. So, but, if you have any idea how we can do it better, please. But to be honest, because we know that it's more important for our citizens to understand what we are doing. Because a lot of ideas actually come up, even from citizens. We have a citizen engagement platform where we engage citizens and people come up with fantastic ideas that we implement. But we need citizens to also know exactly what we are doing. Because a lot is going on in Lagos, believe it or not.
Yeah, so I guess it's also on the citizens to dig deep and look for the information. And I'm sure we do have an audience here, so at least we know that this group of individuals in Lagos are now informed. Let's go to Kaduna State. Now, the North is known. I mean, it's no longer, there's no question about it. Food comes from there. Talk about tomatoes. Every part of the North has something. But at the end of the day, post-harvest losses, about 50% of that is lost. Value chain, adding value to that, preservation and storage, those things seem not to be getting enough attention. As a government, do you worry about this? Do you do anything about this?
Sure. Well, good evening, viewers, once again. You know, we're celebrating the 64th anniversary of the country as a nation today. And you'll be shocked, in the 60s, agriculture contributed as high as 57% to the country's GDP and over 75% of the country's foreign exchange earnings. So where are we today? And the reason is simple. The suffering, the economic stress is simply because we abandoned agriculture. And as we are now, as a strategy for recovery, what we need to do is to really refocus, which I believe the government is taking the right steps, by refocusing on agriculture. Because once productivity grows there, is the only way, because you need, first of all, to ensure food security. Food sufficiency is key. Without it, I mean, the stress will be enormous, which we all are feeling right now. And, you know, the import bills today on food is something that is of serious concern. As of 2023, we imported $2 billion worth of wheat. Dairy, $1.5 billion. I mean, it's unbelievable.
These are crops we can actually...
we can produce. We can. And raw sugar, over $700 million. And we have the land. We have the human resource. You understand? Palm oil, over $600 million.
So, Commissioner, what stops us from, I mean, we have the land, we have the climate, we have the good weather, we have the soil. What's stopping us?
That is why the only way out is for us to refocus, because we have the population, a very youthful population, over 200 million Nigerians now. So even to feed ourselves is an issue. So as a state, I will tell you confidently that Kaduna today, we are leading in maize production. We're leading in ginger. We're leading in tomatoes. Kellogg's is in Lagos, but 90% of what, I mean, the source of their raw materials, the maize, is from Kaduna State. You understand? And so as a government, we are deliberate. The governor is now pushing because a lot most of this production comes from our smallholder farmers. But you know, they suffer from lack of quality inputs. That's why as a government, the focus now is to support them. We gave over 49,000 of them quality seedlings this year. And by way of fertilizer, you know, federal government has done a lot, which they must be commended for. The cost of fertilizer a bag is 43,000, 46,000, which, you know, is not affordable to especially the smallholder farmers. So with the support of federal government, and then as a state, we also boosted, 15,000 metric tons of fertilizer was distributed to smallholder farmers. 120,000 smallholder farmers benefited from 2 bags each from the state. What's the reason? We want to boost productivity. We want to boost production. And once you lower the cost of input, they will be encouraged to go back to farm. And that's the only way out. And look at it, cocoa. Nigeria as I mean, it's so sad that while we export almost about 400 billion worth of cocoa as of the second quarter of this year, what is shocking is that how much are we really making?
Yeah, so that's where the
value
value,
chain.
exactly.
So value addition is one critical area that we must focus on. Typically, Germany in the year 2021 imported over $759 million worth of cocoa beans. But the same year, they exported $5.5 billion worth of chocolates. For us, we benefit from less than 10% of the value. So what we need to do as a people, deliberate, is that we must add value. In the Southwest, that is a mainstay here. We must add value. When we do that, we tend to gain a lot. At least by adding value, we will at least have 3 times what we used to get right now. And those are the things that put pressure on the Nigeria's currency. You see Naira devaluing by the day. We have no reason importing all those things. Wheat, rice, and at least for rice now, we can beat our chests and say, yes, we can feed ourselves. But then,
but we still have imported rice in Nigeria.
Just observed, paddy is now an issue.
And so we still have imported rice in the country, in circulation.
Because, you know, when we rely on rain-fed agriculture, it's a problem. For us to ramp it up, we need to work aggressively in building our irrigation infrastructure such that we'll do all year-round farming. It's the only way to go. Over 200 million Nigerians, it's a huge population to feed. If we can focus on that, which means whatever we do during the rain-fed dry season, we can even try and make effort to do 50% of what we get during the that will be a huge boost in the productivity and then perhaps prosperity and livelihoods of our farmers. That's the only way.
We would also like to hear from you on dealing with post-harvest losses. It's a major one. Yes. So even when we boost the production...
Yes, to address that, you know, as a state, we have about close to 200 warehouses, but a lot of them in state of dilapidation. That's why this year, we went into partnership with private sector, Star Agri, India. And what we hope to achieve here is, one, they will upgrade the warehouses. As our farmers harvest, there is a safe place, great, clean place to keep it. And it will even enhance the value because that will bring market access. And it will even bring access to finance. That's the partnership that we have signed with Star Agri. And that way, when they harvest, they have somewhere to take it to in good condition, and they will not be under pressure to dispose of it on harvest. Like to minimize it was mostly the middlemen that smile to the bank.
So middlemen again, we hear that. We heard that from Deputy Governor. Now we're hearing
August, September, October will be harvest, like for maize and most of the other crops. The middlemen will come and mop up. 3-4 months down the line, they will be making over 100% when the farmers don't get the real value. So with this partnership, what we hope to achieve is, to provide proper warehousing, where warehouse receipt system will come into play. As a farmer on harvest, you can take your produce to a safe warehouse, and when you keep it there, you'll be issued receipts, which you can go and access financing of whatever percentage of it from a bank. All
right, Dr. Dabo, we just have to pause there. We need to take a break. And we know that insecurity, all of this, beautiful. But when we go to the nitty-gritty of it, we see insecurity as a challenge. And then also, how much of mechanized farming is Nigeria actually practicing? We'll talk about that after this break.
Nigerian, a people of pride and pedigree, Jermaine. 200 tribes, 300 languages within our domain. We are the marrow of a people in an esteemed terrain. 36 states and one capital linked by a federal chain. We are diverse in our communities. We contain a vast main. From our Sahels to our hills and our forests of rain, our landscapes of beauty, our congruence is same. Our cities are vibrant, our villages more plain, but in each is an energy patriotism doth attain. The rivers, the lakes, and the springs in our lane are the wonders of nature, our miraculous gain. Nigeria is our home, rock, and all that hope does pertain. Nigeria is undeniable. Greatness runs through our veins. I am the dance of life cycle, diversities contain. I'm the world's happiest people through life's rigorous campaign. I'm the bounty, the essence, my ideal I maintain. I am nourished by my crop, by my soil, by my grain. I'm your neighbor, your friend, your child, and your dame. I am my brother's keeper, my brethren is my main. I'm the sound, the vision, I'm passion's own gain. I'm the spirit of a people, the soul, the membrane. I'm a warrior, a teacher, part of royalty's train. I'm a sage, I'm the soul, I'm what heroes ascertain. I'm the heart of Africa, I'm a vibe, I'm what echoes again. I'm the brilliance in brilliance, my achievements aren't vain. I'm a musical icon, Olympic gold I did regain. I'm a Nobel laureate with literature to entertain. I'm a scientist distinguished with a cerebral brain. I'm a nominee of an Oscar, a Grammy I did obtain. I'm a champion of soccer, in sports greatness I sustain. I'm the first Black Miss World with splendor in my ingrain. I'm in the Vatican, I'm a Khalifa, my faith is my bane. I'm Ngozi Amina, shining where global power pertain. I'm Samad Analiko, my wealth, my fabulous mane. I am traditional, I'm cultured, I constrain my mundane. I'm a pain, my brain drain must be put in abstain. I am vain, do not wane. I'm all that hope does remain. I'm the product of sprain, which my history will explain. I'm a Nigerian, I'm humane. I'm a giant to reign. Niger's talent organically sanction autonomy to our culture and creators, from art to gastronomy. Music, film, and all sectors must be given in sonomy. Is the future astronomy, is our new oil metonymy, enabling environment in the colony through structured taxonomy. Or hail the Ministry of Art, Culture, and Creative Economy.
Mommy, there's something under my bed.
Happy family, happy home. You know in every room there's some hookahs. Get comfort, stay refreshed. Choose Muka mattress. Sleep better, live better.
Muka, adding comfort to life.
It saddens me that our wildlife and forests are disappearing, and that Nigeria has become a hub for wildlife trafficking. But together, we can change this story. We can lead our region with stronger laws that prosecute more offenders. Let's create a future where people and wildlife can thrive together. Please report wildlife crime and help make Nigeria a haven for wildlife. Because protecting nature protects us all.
Get ready to witness history at the Elevate Africa convening, happening live in Abuja on October 10th and 11th, 2024. Hosted by Their Majesties King Atuwase III and Olori Atuwase III. The event will feature influential figures such as the President of Kosovo, Busi Thembekwayo, and Davido. Download the Elevate Africa app on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and register now.
Mommy, there's something under my bed.
Happy family, happy home. You know in every room there's a Muka. Get comfort, stay refreshed. Choose Muka mattress. Sleep better, live better. Muka.
Muka, adding comfort to life.
Attention all land allottees in Maitama 2 District, Cadastral Zone A10, Abuja. The Federal Capital Territory Administration, through the Federal Capital Development Authority, is carrying out infrastructural development in Maitama 2 District. To facilitate this development, settle your outstanding right of occupancy and other bills for the issuance of certificate of occupancy on your property. Failure to pay may result in the withdrawal of your RFO and reallocation of the land. Names of affected allottees and the outstanding bills, as well as the remitter link for payments, will be published in the following national dailies of Wednesday, October 2, 2024. Daily Trust, The Nation, This Nigeria, The Sun, This Day, Leadership, Blueprint, Daily Telegraph, Vanguard, and Punch newspapers. Comply now and secure your property rights. This message is brought to you by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, building a better Abuja for all.
It saddens me that our wildlife and forests are disappearing, and that Nigeria has become a hub for wildlife trafficking. But together, we can change this story. We can lead our region with stronger laws that prosecute more offenders. Let's create a future where people and wildlife can thrive together. Please report wildlife crime and help make Nigeria a haven for wildlife. Because protecting nature protects us all.
You're welcome back. You're still watching a special Channels Forum, and we're spotlighting Nigeria's economy as we celebrate 64 years of independence. And just before the break, we had started a conversation on how to ensure food security. We've spoken to the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, and we've heard efforts and plans by the by Lagos State. And then we went to Kaduna State, where we see a high production, but how do we deal with value chain production? How do we deal with adding value? And how do we deal with post-harvest losses? Now, let's head to Osun State. We know that Osun State boasts of mechanized farming, but how impactful has that been? We have the commissioner here, Otumba Tola Fasheru, Commissioner of Agriculture and Food Security in Osun State. I've had conversations with you on the program a lot of times, and you've shared the big plan, of Osun State on mechanized farming, and you have tractors and all of that. But I guess it's beyond having those mechanized or equipment. It's about productivity. Can I ask how much production has increased since you started this journey of acquiring your equipment?
Thank you very much, Jenny, and happy independence to everyone. When my governor, the executive governor of Osun State, Dr. Asiwaju, Senator Nuruddin Jackson Ademola Adeleke, took over the administration in Osun State. One of his key focal points in his 5-point agenda was agric industrialization. And he was clear about it in the ways to achieve it. First of all, was to ensure that we have engagement with the farmers, know what their issues are, know what, give them that confidence that we are there for them, and we're interested in ensuring food security, food sufficiency, and ensuring affordable, making food affordable in the state. And of course, the days of cutlasses and O's, how far can we go with that? When we got there, we practically saw no tractors, no equipment on the ground. But he said, we can work this way. And he went ahead to do that investment in mechanization. And that was a bold step. I mean, committing huge budget on it, and even going beyond that in the budget for 2025 is also said, yes, that will go further. Osun State is a state that has comparative advantage in agriculture. And of course, you know the strategic nature and the historical positioning of Osun State. I mean, that's where you have Ife, the cradle of the Yoruba race. And Yoruba people are agri people. And so we cannot afford to lag behind. And also, going by what Baba Awolowo did, he said, yes, we cannot be behind. So every time we're looking at what we can do, we have comparative advantage in cocoa, in cashew nuts, in oil palms, and then arable crops like cassava, like maize, you know, and then, of course, vegetables. And indeed, looking at fishery and livestock. And each of these areas, he has paid attention to them, ensuring that no aspect is lacking. Supporting each of these farmers across the board, the cocoa farmers, engaging them. Of course, he talked about the cocoa rebate, the revamping of the cocoa history and the cocoa positioning of the state. Osun State is the number 3 in Nigeria. And what we're doing is to look at what Ivory Coast is doing. You know, Ivory Coast is the largest producer of cocoa in the world with about 2 million tons. Largest producer of cashews with about 1 million tons. These commodities are the commodities that are actually supporting the economy of that country.
So, Otumba, do tell us, I mean, what plan do you have? Do you have meetings with the farmers? Do you encourage more people to come into that space? You know, let's hear the plan.
I'm just moving. Basically, we have the farmers associations. Each one of them, from cocoa association to cashew association to cassava to maize, we engage with them from time to time and give them high-quality seedlings, you know, high-yield seedlings, hybrid seedlings. We work with our own staff and with CREAM, the Cocoa Research Institute, to ensure that we give them the best, the seedlings. I was in Cambodia earlier in the year, also to see what they're doing, particularly in cashew. They've kind of moved to the second position now. And from what they're doing now, you have about, the average in the world is about 400 kg per hectare. They're doing like 2.5 per hectare. That's what we're trying to do in Osun, raising the best of seedlings and getting it to these farmers. You know, each one of them, the vegetable seedlings, we're getting it to the farmers, supporting them, okay, to ensure that they have the right, because the first thing is this: what kind of material are your people doing? One of the problems we have in Nigeria is per hectare, the productivity is low. And we have said that we're going to change the narrative. We're giving them the best planting materials. beyond the mechanization that we're supporting them with, okay? And then with fertilizers, okay? I mean, we must give kudos to the federal government that supported the state with fertilizers, and we also, as a state, have, added our own efforts to it. And so these fertilizers also ensuring that it gets to the right people, the right farmers, okay, so that they can use it, and in a short time we can begin to see the change, and then herbicides, okay, these are things that will help, in the fishery aspect. We give them fingerlings. We also provide. You're talking about post-harvest losses, how we can bring that as low as possible. You rightly said it. About 50% of what we produce is wasted, is lost, even before getting to the market. All of that, we're looking at it. We are also working on improving our data. So I was also talking about giving them the storage, I mean, those in fishery and all that, to support them, okay? All right. And then the data, very important that we know where our farmers are and what they require, what kind of size they have. Whether we like it or not, the subsistence farmer, they still produce about...
the smallholder farmers.
Yeah, the smallholders, we still need to support them. All right. While also, we're also making it easy for investors, large-scale agriculturists to come into the state and also support the work. Then also engage our youth by such connection. All right,
let us bring in Dr. Hassan now. Dr. Hassan, while the state government have these beautiful plans, we know that insecurity is a real threat, not just in the north, in the south. We've heard of farmers being killed, and we hear a lot of things being said about it. But would you say, from your experience, that we're doing enough to get the farmers back to the farm because of, I mean, we have issues of insecurity. You have the cattle rearers and the farmers conflict. That is still a problem.
Well, I know the security agencies have been trying their best to make sure that the farmers go back to land. But definitely, there is still much to be done. Because if you look at, usually if you look at the Northwest, which produces most of the food they bring to this part of the country and the cattle, many farmers for the past 2, 3, 4 years have not been able to go to farm. You go to farm, you'll be kidnapped, they will ask for ransom, and even when you go after planting, when you come to harvest, these bandits will come and cause problem and kill them, and so that has disrupted a lot of farming activities. But I know I worked in that part of the country about 11 years ago in Sokoto. Most of these things started in Zamfara area, where it has blossomed to other, like 6 states in the Northwest. As we are talking, some researchers have shown that you have more than 10,000 bandits around that 6 states, with about 120 gangs. But good enough, of recent, the security forces have been making some efforts. At least 15 gang leaders of those bandits have been killed. Kachala Habibu Sobobo, Sani Dangote, the one that masterminded the great train robbery of 28/3/2022 also has been killed. So if they continue in that light to get at those bandits, I think there will be no mercy in the farms. However, the problem we have is if you attack in Zamfara, if military security force attack in Zamfara, there is tendency those bandits will move to the neighboring states. So what we are looking at is to see that the attack is done simultaneously in all the states so that they have no hiding place. Either if you attack Niger, they move to the next neighboring state. If you attack in Zamfara, they move to Katsina. If you attack in Katsina, they move to Kaduna. So it will be like a vicious cycle. But we are suggesting that the attack should be simultaneous. And also, in other, like in Borno, northeast part of the country, we would earlier suggest in our research that the creation of what we call motorcycle battalions. We don't know how practicable that is, because most of these hoodlums, they move about in motorcycles, and the villages are far from each other. So we need to increase our strategy to make sure that since the leaders of this gang have been decimated, the younger ones do not come and form other groups to come and create problems for farmers so that we get sufficient food for our country.
All right, so let's just get, before we get to your closing thoughts, some questions from members of the audience. And I know that they do have questions, Ladi. So,
yeah, very interesting conversations so far, and definitely we have actionable plans from this conversation. One, states should collaborate in areas of storage and logistics, reduce the number of middlemen in agriculture value chain, refocus on agriculture. Those are the actionable plans right now. But now let's get some questions. Definitely, I know this audience, this incredible audience, they've been so good. Put your hands together for yourself again. Yeah, they've been so good. And they're going to be giving us some questions. Now, I'm going to call on Mr. Tunde Banjoko. He's going to be leading the questions right now.
Good evening, everyone. Evening, everyone. My first question to our panelists this evening is, we still see a big disconnect between the farmers and the government in most states. As a practicing farmer, I can tell that authoritatively. The last time I think we felt anything was during Akinwumi Adesina, that we felt the government and the farmers working together, that we can say we have somebody in government who has data of farmers. So where we stand, there's still a big disconnect. What are we doing at our various states to make sure the farmers, the real farmers, not the photo farmers that we see in recent time, taking pictures and all that, what are we doing? That's the first one. I still see also, secondly, that most states, and I say that too, authoritatively, most states are not investing in mechanization, especially in the Southwest. I say that authoritatively because I offer that service. Most states are not investing in mechanization. And why is that? That state will still be hiring tractors, bulldozers. You can hire, but that should be to complement what you have. So that's second one. Then we still have issues where we are still being harassed for taxes for carrying produce within the states. There was a day I had to pack to fight a battle that was not mine because an old man was being harassed for loading egg. And when I when I accosted them, I was told we are taking revenue for our agents who had paid to the governor, to the government. Why do we still have multiple taxes? Why produce, why carrying goods?
Okay.
I think
yeah, thank you so much for that. Put your hands together for him, please. All right, we also have Mercy Ubada. She also has questions for the panel.
Okay, good evening all.
Make it brief, please.
Yes, we know that the food inflation is worsened by terrorists having to have chased our farmers off the farm. Now, the question is to Our Excellency, the Deputy Governor. I want to ask, why are we partnering with Niger State, which is far up from Lagos? We have Ogun State, which is very close by, with vast fertile land. Because if we're going to be transporting our produce from Niger State down to Lagos, cost of transportation will definitely affects the price of goods. So I wonder why we're still looking so far off instead of us looking within. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get some responses.
Yes, I think we have our hands full already. So I would like to plead with you to please, let's have it like very short answers because we're almost out of time. So I think that we could start with the gap between farmers and the government. And I think everyone except Dr. Bala is in government. So we would like to, get your...
Well, I want to say that in Kaduna, I think there hasn't been a time like this. We truly are partnering with our smallholder farmers greatly. We currently are working on targeting yield improvement because truly their yield is far below what is expected. So we are targeting them. We don't only have the data by the name and location, we even have coordinates of their farms. That is the kind of data we're building right now. It's a work in progress, but we have gone substantially far, and we're supporting them. Like this year, we've supported them so much, with so much input, those on the livestock. Where the governor, we gave even day-old chicks to women, several women, fisheries, fingerlings, and the support has never been this, so massive
So in Kaduna, you think there's no gap?
Partnership, no gap at all.
All right, let's hear from Deputy Governor. Deputy Governor, you do have two questions.
Too, we're doing very well there right now.
Okay, Deputy Governor, you do have two. You have a question of why you're going all the way to Niger State, and of course, the gap.
So, you know,
and Mr. Banjoko is a farmer in Lagos, I think, so...
I don't know. So, but Mercy, you said that why are we going to Niger? So, understand one thing. If you plant rice, for example, in Ogun State or Osun State, your yield will be lower than Niger. You have different land. You understand? So, and also because you have that organized farmers already. So, what we do is we don't go there to farm. All we are saying is we guarantee that we buy from you. We buy from the farmers. So, and it has worked until the insurgency. So the challenge is if you go to another state that is nearer, I'm not getting the volume that I need. So what I'm looking for is farmers that's ready to farm and give me the rice. So it's not a question of whether you are near me or not near me. When you buy that rice in Daleko, you don't care where it comes from. You just want good rice. So for me, what do I need? You understand? So it was easier. We've done with Kebbi State, dealing with so. And I said that we bought land in Ogun to actually do our own farming. So, but like as of today, the yield in the southwest is lower than up north today. So it can get better, but today. But we don't want to wait till tomorrow because we have to feed today.
And the population is growing too.
The population is growing. So the second one was
the gap.
The gap. Well, are you actually talking about Lagos? I wanted to know, are you actually talking about Lagos? No. Okay, so I can only talk about Lagos. So because there is no gap. Today, we have trained 14,149 young farmers. Our challenge, like I said, is we don't have the land. So if you go to Araga today, each of them, they have houses where they live, their family lives there, and they have, the challenge is the land is not enough. And, you know, hey, that's what nature gave us. Nature gave us, we are a very small state in terms of partnership. So, but what we do is, like people say, how do we process things? How do we make sure? So if you go to Imota today, it's not just a rice mill. You will see different small shops that we build there for people that can process things around rice. So how do we train them? So what we found out is that majority of these small business owners are Greek-related. The businesses die within the first to second year for all sorts of reasons. So what we are trying to train them is, how do you even run a business? How do you keep your accounts? How do you manage your staff? How do you relate with government? So those type of relationships, and we have former executive. So the chairman of Lagos State Employment Trust Fund was former MD of Citibank, a woman, Ms. Adesha. So we have experienced people that have run business. So they mentor them, apart from giving grants or giving the 5% loan and so on, depending on your project, we also train people and mentor them. Because it's not enough to just do business. How do you last long? How do you stay long? So we don't have issues like that in Lagos. We partner with our young farmers and all businesses. Now, in terms of multiple taxation, you see, we've heard this again and again. You will see in Lagos, there is a program we said, BOS Meet Business. We call it business. So I think you've been there before. We meet our businesses quarterly. Majority of the challenges, sometimes it's federal, so they will complain about custom. The last meeting we had, we actually brought custom. We brought CBN. We brought everybody to say, these are the complaints of businesses in Lagos. And some of these we can't solve because they are sovereign. So, and we brought them together. So remember, we have a constitution. The constitution has federal, state, and local government. So if you have a company in Lagos, that company tax doesn't come to Lagos. You understand? Even the payee says that if you live in Ogun and you work in Lagos, it's Ogun State. So we have those complications in our constitution. that I can deal with. I didn't write the Constitution. So, but within that, what we've said is this. It's simple. We have a ease of doing business committee. I chair it as the deputy governor. And what we do is this. On our website, these are the things you can pay. But these are the things that local government can take. The Constitution gives federal taxes, state taxes, and local government taxes. But what we have done is to make it easy, because there are different local governments. The Constitution allowed them to tax us, depending on what it is, right? But what we have done is, so that's why we have LASA, for example. They are supposed to collect advertisement. So, but you are in Oshodi, and then you get to Agege, somebody will say, you've not paid your. So that's why we have LASA, for example, to aggregate everybody, so that you have only one license, and that across the state, nobody should challenge you. How we distribute it behind the scene for the local government is our business.
All right.
So that's what we've done in Lagos, to make it easier and easier and easier.
All right, Deputy Governor. All right, so Osun State now, the issue of taxes, obviously, especially taxing crops and movement of it. And I know you would say there's no gap between the farmers and the government.
Absolutely. You know where I came from. So I am actually, like, even though I'm in the public sector, I'm a product of the private sector and of the farmers. I'm a farmer myself. So engaging them, it's not a problem. So in Osun, we do that from time to time. And I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility. We engage each and every one of them, from the, like I said, Cocoa Association, Cashew Association, Butchers Association, all of them. We engage them, because I believe everything starts from when you know their needs, and then you can now meet those needs. And I can tell you, the farmers in Osun State, they're happy, because this is a new dispensation, and they're happy. In the area of taxes, we are not there to punish the people. They voted for us. They elected us. We are their representatives. So we are mindful of all of that. Yes, we need to increase that IGR, but then we do it knowing that there shouldn't be undue taxes or burden on the people.
All right.
People, as you know, things are already tough right now. So
yeah, we see the numbers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all the government people have spoken. Dr. Hassan, just parting words. We're out of time, but parting words, how do we handle this issue of insecurity in food supply in the country?
Well, I know the security forces are doing their best, but I can't see a situation whereby security men are posted to guide farmers to do their farming. We don't have those number of security forces at all. Because the number of policemen, let's say in Zamfara, there are no more than 5,000. And this is an area that covers about 38,000 square kilometers. They cannot man those farmers to do their farming for harvest and all that. So they should put their thinking cap and develop other scientific areas of getting at these bandits to flush them out of the area, so that the farmers will have a peaceful environment to carry on their businesses. So guarding farmers, security men to farmers can never work. It's either they use drones to track them, or to use what we call forward operation bases. Because the villages are far from each other. If there's any attack, before the military men or the police officer went there, the damage is done. But if you have FOBs, what we call forward operation bases, one FOB can take care of about 10 villages. So if there's any attack, they will hold on the attack pending when attack support will come from the headquarters. So the security forces should do much more than thinking that by guarding the farmers, protecting them to farm and harvest can solve the problem of security, food security in Nigeria.
All right, we need to put on our thinking caps. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. Thank you so much, Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security in Osun State, Otunba Tola Fasheru, and of course the security expert among us, Dr. Bala Hassan, former AIG Zone 2, covering Lagos and Ogun State, and our host here, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Kadri Hamzat, and all the way from Kaduna State. We appreciate your time here, Dr. Mortala Dabo, Commissioner of Agriculture in Kaduna State.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So we'll take a break now. When we come back, another very important element of the economy is energy. The cost of it, securing it, major issues we'll discuss after this break.
Download One Express app and enjoy the variety of calls anytime, everywhere. One Express app at the heart of the game.
Welcome to Tantata City, F01, Cadastral Zone, Kubwa, Abuja, where luxury meets tranquility, nestled in the heart of nature. Step inside our meticulously designed homes, sited in a location with proximity to Dutse Alaji, first roundabout, Abuja Metro Railway Station, which is a 30-minute drive to the Abuja International Airport. We have a customer-centric payment plan of 20% down payment, as well as a special discounts on our 5-bedroom line duplex, 5-bedroom duplex, 4-bedroom terrace duplex, 4-bedroom semi-detached duplex, 3-bedroom terrace duplex, and 1, 2, and 3-bedroom block of flats. Enjoy our pleasant amenities such as shopping complex, school, hospital, 24/7 security, and many more. Contact us today on 0809 0500 100 or visit our website www.entatatown.com. Entata City, where luxury and nature converge.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
Veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Attention all land allottees in Maitama 2 District, Cadastral Zone A10, Abuja. The Federal Capital Territory Administration, through the Federal Capital Development Authority, is carrying out infrastructural development in Maitama 2 District. To facilitate this development, settle your outstanding right of occupancy and other bills for the issuance of certificate of occupancy on your property. Failure to pay may result in the withdrawal of your RFO and reallocation of the land. Names of affected allottees and their outstanding bills, as well as the remitter link for payments, will be published in the following national dailies of Wednesday, October 2, 2024. Daily Trust, The Nation, This Nigeria, The Sun, This Day, Leadership, Blueprint, Daily Telegraph, Vanguard, and Punch newspapers. Comply now and secure your property rights. This message is brought to you by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, building a better Abuja for all.
Welcome to the prestigious Maduka University, where knowledge, self-reliance, and service converge to shape the leaders of tomorrow. Are you ready to chart your path to success? We are so excited to announce that admissions are now open for the 2024-2025 academic session. We're calling on all suitably qualified candidates to apply for admission into our diverse range of disciplines, including medicine and surgery, nursing science, public health, radiography, medical lab science, physiotherapy, pharmacy, law, software engineering, cybersecurity, computer science, engineering and technology, business and social sciences. We also run IJMB pre-degree program. To apply, log on to our application portal as displayed on your screen. Your future awaits at Maduka University. We are affordable and reliable. Apply now.
Good evening and welcome to the historical journey of Nigeria's capital market. From humble beginnings to becoming one of Africa's leading financial hubs, Nigeria's capital market has experienced remarkable growth and transformation. Let's explore this summarized but fascinating story. In 1960, the Nigerian stock market was established on November the 1st as the Lagos Stock Exchange, with only 19 securities listed. This marked the beginning of a new era in Nigeria's financial space.
What has happened is what I call a gradual transformation that has taken us to the point where we are today. That gradual transformation came through the first listing or the first public offer on the Nigerian capital market, which is of the Nigerian Cement Company in Calagu. That was the very first offer on the Nigerian capital market.
Key milestones during this period included the official renaming of the stock exchange in 1977 and the introduction of the Capital Issues Commission in 1978, now known as the Securities and Exchange Commission.
One of the greatest things that happened to the Nigerian capital market was the indigenization decree and subsequent privatization of government-owned enterprises.
The 1990s saw automated trading systems and the Central Securities Clearing System, CSCS, in 1997. There were more advancements.
Pre-1999, when we started the call over, and then you had the manual trading system where every stockbroker goes to the floor, and we had to shout for us to buy any high or low, any stocks. Then we had to shout, and we needed to sign. We call it a script receipt there. Then we now went to the XGen. XGen now came in 2012. So when the XGen came in 2012, it was more robust. There was high frequency trading capabilities, and the advanced risk management tools, where we could even use mobile phones to trade. With this system, introduction of the XGen, there was that where we could now stockbroking firms could now connect their clients to a fixed trading, where everybody now trades on the floor of the exchange.
The All-Share Index was launched in 1999, a benchmark to track the overall market performance and sectoral indices in 2002 for detailed market analysis. Now, still in the 2000s, Mrs. Indi Okereke Onyekwe became the first female to head the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Brilliant. And the banking sector crisis in 2009 led to reforms strengthening the market regulation. 2018 saw the market capitalization surpass 20 trillion naira for the very first time. And 2021's demutualization led to the NGX Group PLC. And on February 19, 2024, the all-share index hit an all-time high of 106,087.84 points, and we cannot but speak of some of the high achievers in the market.
The highest performers are really not the ones that people really watch out for. There are stocks like Veritas Capital, you have ING, Julius Berger, Boa Foods, on the list. We also have some, oil and gas stocks, Owando, we also have Eterna and Corn Oil. I think it's a good thing that we're seeing a lot of companies in the real sector that sell actual goods and service and products, on the top 10 list.
As of September 27, 2024, the NGX boasts 393 listed securities, including 151 companies and 157 fixed income securities. The all-share index performance stands currently at 98,458.68 points, and that's at September the 27th. Market capitalization we see it at 56.578 trillion naira, and that's yet to date, and that's still at September 27th. Today, Nigeria's capital market stands strong, poised for future growth. With ongoing reforms and increased investment, the market is expected to continue playing a vital role in Nigeria's economic development. But you may be wondering, is that for me to say?
The Nigerian capital markets going forward is certainly going to be the major driver for economic development in Nigeria. The present government understands that very well, and so is giving all of the supports to the SEC and indeed the capital market community in making sure that that is the case.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Nigeria's capital market history. As the market continues to evolve, one thing remains constant: its vital role in reshaping Nigeria's economic future. I am Will Ibong. Happy Independence Day.
Hello, fellow compatriots. On the occasion of our 64th independence anniversary, I wish to share this message of renewed hope and optimism in our country, Nigeria. Ours has been a journey of ups and downs in the last 64 years, but there has been no time in the history of our country that we have sustained democratic structures as long as this time. That in itself is a big win for the people of Nigeria, who now appreciate the need to develop democratic institutions. All we now need is some patience and some hard work to make all the gains of the very bold decisions of this administration come to pass. On our parts, in the aviation sector, we have also taken some very bold policy decisions. And soon, very soon, we shall all reap the fruits of our hope, hard work, and optimism. happy Independence Day.
That's it. Our own minister there wishing us a happy independence as we celebrate. We're still here. It's Channels Forum. Our eye is on the Nigerian economy. 64 years of independence. How well have we managed our resources? We did have that conversation on food security. Now we'll look about energy security, which is a major driver of economic activities. But before that, we have a goodwill message from the president of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's right here with us in the studio, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa. Good evening, sir.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here. Independence Day is a day for stock taking, for asking ourselves what have we done in the last 64 years and where we want to be perhaps in the next 64 years. I think it's a time to look at where we have been coming from as a country and what we have done with the opportunities that were given to us when we got independence. At the time we got independence, there was a lot of hope for Nigeria. The people who fought for the independence expected that Nigeria will be a land of milk and honey, that all the good things that we had that were controlled by the colonialists will now be in our hands, and we will decide our destiny. At that time, we were already a fairly successful country. The standard of living was pretty high. People who went to school at that time had the best time in the world in terms of services, in terms of the kind of quality of education that they had. But over time, rather than get better, we started having the challenges that we have had about education, about power, about basic capacity to do the things we have been doing, even at the time we got independence. The capacity to feed ourselves, the capacity to provide power at that time that was predictable. And you knew when there was power and when there will be no power. Gradually, we started to lose the capacity to do a lot of things we were doing then. And then oil boom came, and it got even worse. But we now have the time of stock taking to say, where did we get it wrong? What are the things we need to do right? I think it's important to have some sense of confidence for the future. There's some element of doubt among us as Nigerians whether we can really take the opportunities that this country has given to us, that we are blessed with as a birthright. But I think we are beginning to see some of those opportunities. Today we can say that somehow Nigeria can actually produce enough refined products, which was like a pipe dream that Nigeria can produce enough refined products, petroleum products. We now know that we can do it. We know actually that we can produce all the rice we need to feed Africa. We can do it, but sometimes it's a mystery. We just talk about security. Just to secure farmers to be on the farms, it looks like rocket science, but it isn't rocket science. In other parts of the world, there are certain basic, very, very basic security processes and systems. And it starts with fundamental patrol. The countries that are secure are built around many of us live in those countries. That is a basic community security patrol built around various levels of policing. You have the Interpol, you have the national police, you have state police, you have community police, you have metro police. And that kind of policing ensures that even if you're at the remotest village, there's security enough to keep you safe. Those are the things that challenge us as a country. If we begin to get some of those things right, then the bigger issues of how we feed ourselves, how we secure ourselves, how we ensure that the other things that we are talking about, power, will be in place. But I believe that we have the capacity to do it, and I believe that the conversations we are having here today will help us to address them. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Idahosa, for that message of hope. And we'll delve into that on that platform. Speaking here, we're looking at energy security, the different arms of it. We have joining us right here in the studio, Mr. Oladapo Olatubosun, the president of Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers. I think that's the new energy stream, the gas. That's where we are looking at. Thank you so much, Mr. Olatubosun, for joining us this evening.
Happy Independence to you.
Wish you the same.
Happy Independence to viewers at home.
And then all the way from Dubai, we're so happy to have you here, Dr. Chinandikwa. He came to Nigeria for this event. We're so happy to have you. We appreciate your time and your effort to be here. He's the Vice Chair of African Energy Council. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Happy Independence.
Happy Independence. Pleasure to be here. Great to be here.
Great. And then also the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Jet Motor Company, Engineer Derek Ewelukwa, joins us here. I'm sure you have many perspectives to this energy conversation.
I do.
It would be good to hear your part also. So thank you so much and happy Independence to you.
Thank you. Happy Independence. Happy Independence, guys.
And then all the way from London, we do have joining us Mr. Momo Oyarekwa. He's the chairman of Crude Oil Refiners and Owners Association of Nigeria. Mr. Oyarekwa, thank you so much all the way from London and happy Independence to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy Independence.
Yeah, so I guess we should start from you because the issue with crude and we heard Mr. Idahosa talk about local refining of products. We have a new dawn now thanks to Dangote, but of course we know the issues still surrounding it. We know the issues around crude availability to local refiners. As we celebrate 64 years, thank God we see the possibility of refining our own products, but the question of crude availability to local refiners, among other bureaucracy that is around that, especially now, the government had told us crude will be for Naira from today, October 1. How hopeful are you? What can we look forward to in this aspect?
Okay, thank you, Ini, once again. And I think, let me just correct something you have said. I think government did not say entirely that crude will be for Naira. They are only saying that the crude that will be supplied by NNPC to the local refineries will be for Naira. And I think they have said from today, October 1st, they will commence with Dangote, and then other refiners will begin to also earn the benefits of the supply. And I also think we have been engaging, and we hopefully think that government will implement everything that they have said. And that, like you have said, your topic may begin to guarantee us energy security in the country, mostly petroleum products, mostly PMS, if I would say, that has been very, very scarce, that we've been spending most of our FX to import for use in the country. And perhaps which part of it, I think, most time has been taken out through our borders to other countries, which has made it very scarce in the country for our citizens to use. But like you have asked, we have been very, very optimistic that government will put into action most of the things they have promised, mostly as in respect to the crude supply to local refineries.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Yarikwa. But let me come here to the studio, Dr. Dikwa. You've been following this story of, energy security. Are we anywhere close to energy security in reality in Nigeria?
Ini, I think it's a really good question, and I'll answer it this way. So just for context, Nigeria started importing crude in 1972. Nigeria is 64 years old today. So the problem is only about 12 years younger than Nigeria. So to your point, do we have a refinery? Yes, we do today. There's a huge opportunity to solve that problem, that 52-year-old problem. So from an energy security standpoint, it's huge. Whichever side of the divide that you sit, it is a huge thing that today we can solve that. But I always say, before you talk about energy security, and I think that's the way we need to frame this question, before you say energy security, before you secure anything, you have to have it first. So actually, the point I'm making is there are three sides to this coin. It's not two sides. There are three sides. The first side of the coin is energy access. Do we even have this energy? You walk out of here, probably not today, but certainly a month ago, 2 months ago, you see long queues. Does the energy even exist? Do we even have it? So energy access is number one. And there was a recent study by one of our analysts. If you take the average taxi driver, say in Lagos, he spends, believe it or not, a minimum of 72 hours in the petrol station queuing a month. 72 hours queuing. Sum that up into a year, probably works out to be about 35 days. That's about 10% of his year, just queuing. Non-productivity, that man can be working, contributing to the economy. He's not, he's queuing, spending time, all of that. So energy access, question one. If you do have the energy, then the second thing is energy affordability, and it leads to a question of price. And, we're going to have that discussion. So the second leg of the second part of that coin is energy affordability. We have the energy, can we afford it? Before we talk security. Security is the last thing that should be on our minds. The first thing is, can we access that energy? Can we afford that energy? And then I think, can we secure that energy? But without a doubt, we're much closer to energy security from a transportation standpoint than we've ever been. Energy from power standpoint is a different equation.
Are you trying to correct a perspective that we have the potential to, to both access, availability, that we do have the potential, and then perhaps it is just politicking, bureaucracy that's stopping us from achieving what we should?
Yeah, 100%, Ini, 100%. Energy affordability, I think from a transportation standpoint, once the refinery is up and running entirely, so 40 tankers get loaded every day, all the way going to Nigeria. Once that's sorted, affordability becomes much more solved. If Port Harcourt refinery comes onto the equation again, then even more. Then you talk about affordability. The moment you deregulate the market and allow free market forces to come in, then the question about price becomes very quickly solved as well, because you start to see it come down. But I can say this to Nigerians, if you're waiting for the price to go down anytime soon, you can forget about it. Diesel is it's 1,180. Most likely petrol will probably creep closer to that. Before free market forces come down, we'd start to see it come down after that.
Yeah, maybe we could look the way of alternative gas now. CNG messages everywhere. The government is giving CNG. Everybody's talking about alternative. Mr. Latiposu, this is your area. But even with that, we still talk about affordability.
Yeah, thank you, Ini. I think the most essential aspect of energy that is critical to human being is about food, cooking energy. How do we process our food? And unfortunately, this part of the world, we neglected that aspect. And the majority of Nigerians were cooking with means that are not preferable, that are not healthy to them. They waste time, it's shortening their lifespan, they increase medical bill because we do not have access to a clean and the most acceptable means of cooking, and that is LPG. It will surprise you that Nigeria has huge deposits of LPG, butane, propane under the soil. But in terms of accessibility, that's where I agree with my colleague here. How easily is Nigeria accessible to it? We started exploration of crude oil as far back as 70s. But up to 80s, there was no awareness of how to use cooking gas to cook. Before you get to where crude oil is, you will meet gases on the way. What do? We fly them away. The technicians that were helping us to exploit, they were interested in the black gold, the crude oil. Little attention was paid to the gas, which is far more better and is useful for us. And when they have to exploit some, they package it and send it to Europe, another part of the world, where they think they needed it more. Meanwhile, we that are blessed with it, they neglected infrastructure to make us access to it. Up to the 1980s, very few government houses were using LPG to cook. The so-called rich were using kerosene stove to cook. Up to 80s, awareness are just coming up. Infrastructure are just coming up. And that created the gap between us and other countries, even countries that are not blessed with these resources. Today, we cannot match consumption of Benin Republic with Nigeria, despite the huge difference in our population. Morocco is far ahead of us. Algeria top in the whole Africa. So also Egypt. These are countries that they do not have 50% of our population, except Algeria. But yet they have access because awareness and easy access was there at early stage. Not until 2016, when President Jonathan said he's totally removing subsidy on kerosene. That is when Nigeria became aware of cooking through LPG.
But now that we are aware, I mean, is it available? Is it affordable?
Thank you. Currently, and that is what this current government is doing, they are trying to battle supply to make it available. The supply is relative because the usage level is low. By the time the usage level grow the way it's supposed to grow, currently Nigeria consumes 1,250,000 metric tons per annum. That is ridiculously low to our population. We should be consuming not less than 6 million to 700 million per annum.
But is it low because of non-awareness, or low because, I mean, we've had conversations of people want to convert their cars and the cost of it alone is also...
That is the problem. Affordability, purchasing power of Nigerians. A lot of the poor people in the village, you are not talking of cities, in the village, you gave a chart about the population distribution of Nigeria. About 35% are in the village. Out of that 35%, only 5 or 2% are using LPG to cook, are using butane. So those ones are out of the net. They don't have access and they can't afford it. So affordability, purchasing power of Nigeria is a factor, and the cost of this. However, we must see this as a social good that will benefit everybody and also benefit our economy. Because the more people are running away from it, the more we are increasing medical bill, the more we are deforesting, and that is too dangerous. Climatic change. The Western world, they are buying gas from us. You don't go anywhere in Europe and see anybody using a cooking stove. Far back as early as 1960s, 70s. But here, till tomorrow, there are still some parts of Nigeria that are cooking with wood. And these are areas we should look at. The future, the prospect. How do we develop this? We must create awareness, number one. Two, we must make it affordable. And this is area government needed to play a role. They are struggling to meet demand in terms of supplying locally and allow importation and creating infrastructure. The wide gap that has been there since the 70s, they are now trying to bridge it. A lot of investors are coming now, trying to bridge it. It takes time for us to be there. But while we have to bridge that gap, we must also think how best to get people there and make it accessible to them. So accessibility in terms of purchasing power is a critical factor.
All right. We'll talk to Engineer Derek to share his thoughts on that. But just before, we do have story or news coming in, and Ladi has that information.
Yes, in a news, Justin, if you've been following geopolitics in the Middle East, then you know that this is not a surprise. See, Iran, they've launched a barrage of missiles at Israel, about 200 missiles into Israel and from Iran. And Iran's UN mission describes the attack as legal, rational, and they're saying that it's fully ready for any retaliation from Israel. Alarms sounded across Israel and explosions could be heard in Jerusalem and the Jordan River. And I got to check on oil prices, and I see they're already reacting, and it's interesting, we're already talking about energy right now. We're seeing oil prices already up 3%, Ini.
It's up, Yeah, you can expect that oil prices will react. Incidentally, we're talking about energy now. Nigeria's mainstay is oil. So while Nigeria may have an increased revenue, but the issue of subsidy and importation of refined products obviously draws back the gains from that. We'll get to that, hopefully, if time would allow us. But let's get the thought of Dr. Engineer Derek. We're talking about accessibility, alternative energy. That's what everybody's talking about. The world is talking about renewables. We're still flaring gas, which is supposed to be potential to help us to gain on this. And we saw Mr. Tupason talk about, the costs. The number of people who have been excluded from even accessing this.
You're right. I'm going to maybe throw a shocker to the audience. It might not be a shock to some of us here. Nigeria has the highest deposit of natural gas reserve in the whole of Africa. Nigeria has almost about 6 trillion standard cubic meters of gas under the ground. So question of availability shouldn't be our problem in Nigeria. We have abundance of gas. I'm taking this towards the direction of energy for transportation. For a thriving economy, people need to move from A to B. Goods need to move from A to B. So we need to move people around. So if we tap into our gas reserves, experts have it that our gas reserves will last anywhere from above 10 decades to 30 decades, what we have in the ground. Nigeria being the highest in natural gas reserves is still not exploiting it for obvious reasons. Everyone is focused on petroleum. And that's why I applaud some of the initiatives of the current administration when it comes to energy initiatives. The compressed natural gas initiative is one of them. Previous administration started the Decade of Gas initiative. And also, the current administration is trying to ramp up domestic gas utilization. We haven't even, what we're dealing with now is what I could call associated gas, which means by the process of drilling crude oil, we come across gas and we capture it and try to do one or two things with it. We haven't even talked about non-associated gas. We're just going into the ground to drill to get gas out. If we begin to do that, availability will be least of our issues. Now, most experts gauge energy security with most of my colleagues have touched on that, with the 4 A's of energy security. Is it accessible? Is it acceptable to the people? Is it affordable? And is it available? We have all the resources in Nigeria to slam through these 4 A's. But there are many drawbacks. I'll go towards the compressed natural gas. With the new initiative from the federal government, compressed natural gas is the low-hanging fruit for transportation. We see the news coming out of the Middle East. Guess what's going to happen to crude oil and all the byproducts of crude oil? They might go way over the roof. Now, this is the time. If we begin to exploit these, government policies are boosting these sectors. There are lots of private investors going into the CNG. A company that I represent, we are beginning to churn out CNG vehicles. I stopped by today to fill up my work pickup truck with CNG just along Ilupeju, Mushi area. Okay, I paid 2,400 naira to fill up the tank, and it's affordable in today's context. So if we solve the availability issue with CNG, solve the affordability issue with CNG, let's begin to work on acceptance.
Do we have a problem with acceptance? Or is affordability and availability the discouraging factor?
I hear some backroom discussions on acceptance. People are a little bit skeptical when they hear gas. So I'm going to sit in the same vehicle with a gas cylinder. This is not happening. So that's acceptability. Okay? So when people hear that, they hear gas, they think about explosions, they think about fire. But compressed natural gas in its state, this is natural gas compressed to about 1% of its volume under normal atmospheric pressure. And it's compressed to almost 250 bar, or 25 megapascal, if you will. So by its nature, it's almost immune to explosion, okay, or fire. Because when it escapes into the atmosphere, it's already lighter than air, so it just dissipates, as opposed to liquid fuel that will come down and easily ignite. So the properties of, these are some of the awareness and education that needs to be given to the people for us to counter the acceptance issue. And the current committee on presidential initiative on compressed natural gas, I think they're doing a fantastic job trying to educate the people. I see the posters all around town. I see the campaigns all around town. And I guarantee, I want to believe in the next couple of months, years maybe, there will be mass adoption of compressed natural gas as an energy source for the transportation industry. Egypt is doing it. Egypt doesn't have as much gas reserves as we do, but most vehicles on the road in Egypt are powered by compressed natural gas. So I can go on and on if you allow me, but
I know it's your area, yes.
I think.
but let's bring Dr. Dikor here. So I hear we have the highest deposit, another potential of Nigeria. Then I also heard Mr. Tubosun talk about infrastructure. So even though we have it as a natural resource, we have to add value for it to be usable and for it to be available. Are we giving enough attention to infrastructure in this area?
Great question. I think, I think he made the very good point. The reality of it is when you look at potential, the potential that we carry from a pure natural resource endowment, there are very few countries that can beat that. Even oil, we're the highest in Africa, production, of course not reserves, but gas, I think, is our biggest competitive advantage. There's no question of that. So when you think about it, we have the gas all along the coast of Nigeria. In today's world, many of the houses, even if you just come off straight of the coast, how many of our houses actually have gas being piped in for consumption like you're describing? Very few. So infrastructure question. That should have been a given, years and years ago, but we've been unable to solve that question. And I think it goes back to your point. CNG, there's no question that is the way to go. Whether you look at it from an affordability standpoint, I think, way cheaper, probably, a fourth of the price of PMS. But the reality of it is the mechanics to take natural gas, compress it in that way, and send it all the way to Sokoto or to, all of those. I think those are the things that remain still a big question. I can see how PMS is easily done. And when you listen to Dangote, actually, just last week, very clever strategy. What they said is, instead of sending all of those tankers through Lagos and Lekki to cause the gridlock, they're going to take much of that PMS across the coast of Nigeria into Port Harcourt, and from Port Harcourt, Warri and Calabar, and start to send them up north. The truth about it is, liquid fuels are much easier to handle. Are they cheaper? No, they're not. Are they safer? No, they're not. I'd rather have gas, but the reality of it is they're much cheaper to handle. But I would say this, gas is Nigeria's competitive advantage. We need to create the domestic demand for it. So yes, CNG, and if we could pipe the gas, even much better.
All right, let me bring in Mr. Yakerua now from London. So you obviously are in the part where they're talking about the liquid gas and not the compressed gas and the natural gas. When you hear conversations like this and the world is embracing renewables more and more, do you think that there could be a struggle? A lot of investments that your association, members of your associations do. Do you see a struggle? Could you be that you also need to join this side of the conversation?
Thank you, Ini. You see, the good thing about refining outside the liquid gas is that we also produce what we call the LPG, which is gas, because for every refining that any refinery actually does, there is about 3% of gas coming out of it, which can also be trapped and converted and processed into LPG. I think, like he mentioned Dangote, in the past, I think Dangote was looking at even producing LPG into the market. I'm not sure if he still wants to do that, but for every refining process, there's always gas coming out. which of course can also be compressed and processed with the plant, and LPG can also be produced into the market. But of course, like everyone has alluded to, the current problem and the current product that we require in Nigeria today is the liquid gas, which is what the refineries are producing. And I think this is going to stay with us in the next few years to come. Maybe in another 10 to 20 years, I'm sure this will still remain with us. So we in the refinery sector, we are still trying to bridge the gap before gas on its own become the product that we require for our vehicles.
Yeah, but we're still struggling with this. I mean, decades after we have started. Do you see the end of the tunnel, or is it bright somewhere where we would actually say, oh, we now have sufficient PMS, for instance, and we can actually turn to the alternative?
Yeah, I think, for me, it's a policy issue when it comes to refining in Nigeria. Recently, I was browsing through some information about Nigeria refining. I mean, I don't know how many people know that refining in Nigeria started in 1965 by the first 30,000 barrels per day refinery that was installed by Shell, which eventually NNPC, it was not called NNPC then, or the government of that time actually aligned with Shell to make it 60,000 barrels per day, which is the refinery they are trying to actually revamp today in Port Harcourt. That was the first refinery that was installed in Nigeria. And into 1972 and all of that, we began to have maybe bigger refineries being planned. In the 80s, we began to have maybe the Warri refinery, Kaduna refinery, and all of that. But what has been the major problem? Why has refineries not, or have refineries not work in Nigeria? Is it actually being, one, about maintenance, then two, about crude supply? These two issues, they have always been the issues we have had with refineries in Nigeria. And as it stands today, the challenges some of us are also having, it's also about crude supply.
It seems there's a glitch there, the network with Mr. Gere. But, I mean, should we now give up? Even the Port Harcourt refinery, we're told, will start working in, I think, September. We're in October now. We've had a lot of shifts, you know. So should we give up and just embrace this alternative gas?
The answer to that question is we can't give up. We can't really, in the world economy, it's tough to actually do away completely with fossil fuels. Okay, given what my colleague mentioned, they are the cheapest to handle. Okay, it might not be the cleanest. So at the end of the day, we can't really do away completely with that. But there is room for coexistence of both renewables and fossil, in my opinion. Is the sad truth? I'm a true advocate of sustainability and sustainable development. Fossil fuel doesn't fit that bill, okay? But I'm just trying to be truthful in the real sense of it. You know, in my early days, studying sustainable engineering, any development that allows you to fulfill your needs today without jeopardizing the ability of the future generations to fulfill their own needs is sustainable. Okay? So the oil has been argued that is no way sustainable, but it's one of those evils that it's tough to shake. So we shouldn't give up on our refinery. If you ask, we shouldn't.
We shouldn't give up. All right, let's hear what our audience we'll come back to you, gentlemen, but let's get a feel from our audience. I'm sure they do have some questions. But remember, Engineer Derek said, don't give up on the refinery, even though we've had a lot of changes, you know, and the operational dates for Port Harcourt, for instance. But Ladi, what questions do you have?
Yeah, so we have, you know, questions from our online audience, and we also have from right here in the audience in the studio. But for the online question, we see my question is, this from Inkenta Luke. It says, why is Nigeria generating energy to neighborhood countries, but no steady light in Nigeria? Then we see, why is it too difficult for us to fix our refineries over the years? So, are they working on ensuring we have 24-hour electricity? That's from Godwin Emmanuel Jiduku. Says, is the government thinking about other ways to generate energy rather than the use of dams? Another one from Atta Williams Ebiloma. What innovations are on the horizon for reducing carbon emissions from energy production? So definitely a lot of questions coming from our online audience, Amy. But, you know, for me, it hurts every time I try to buy fuel in my car and I'm having to pay over 1,000 naira per liter or close to 900. My heart bleeds.
Ladi, but when we told you to convert your car to, you refused.
I just want my trunk space.
You said you were scared.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the conversation, as you noted. I mean, we've heard it, especially there was an incident in one of the states that there was an explosion. So everybody did harp on that, on the issue of safety and all of that. But let's just go to the questions that were sent. Perhaps I should start with Mr. Latibosu. Why do you think we keep providing electricity to our neighbors when there's still the shout of UPMEPA in Nigeria?
That's a good question, and every Nigerian should ask that question. But there's what we call contractual agreement. When Nigeria was about to dam Kanji Dam, don't forget River Niger flew, that's a source, and it's flew from another country to Nigeria. Yeah. And there was an agreement that this water will flow to your country, we will not dam it, but you supply us energy. The same kind of agreement between Sudan and Egypt. River Nile. River Nile passes through many countries. And that's why they say no Nile, no Egypt. For Egypt to make effective use of it, they have some contractual agreements with other countries. Similar thing Nigeria had with the neighboring countries when we were about to build Kanji Dam. And that contract was to be agreed to and must be kept to. When you produce energy to them, it's not for free. And we must respect that as a nation that respects agreement. If you don't do, they have right to also dam it. Then you won't have water. Your Kanji Dam will not supply you.
So the one is a global...
That's the... Without not speaking for the Minister for Energy in Nigeria, but from reality, as a Nigerian, that's also concerned. My research has shown me that is one of the reasons, but there may still be other reasons. In terms of energy supply to Nigeria, things will get better. The government are now taking to alternatives. We are not using dam again. I think we have thermal. There are a lot of small plants are being built that are being powered by gas. And we have that in abundance than the one that's being powered by hydro. Yeah. And that's looking for another source. There are a lot of solar companies coming up. So there are a lot of energy generation in Nigeria. The problem we have is concentration of the energy into a source. You go into a village now, you will see some solar companies are already penetrated there. They have lamp there and they are powering them. They are lighting, that's an energy supply. So if we improve on all the sources and we are able to coordinate them, we will have sufficient energy. We are generating energy, but it's not well coordinated. Even the generator you use in your house, you are generating energy,
exactly.
But we need to coordinate it, and the government needs to do more in terms of infrastructure. Give it to them. They've, actually invested a lot into that, and they are trying to come up with that.
We're waiting for the results, I guess.
Hopefully. It will not be like
all right, Dr. Dikko, also, one of the questions was, why do you think it's so difficult for our refineries to work in spite of how much has been spent?
Yeah, I'll answer that question, but if you don't mind, let me just comment on that point as well. I think it's important to recognize, yes, that there have been bilateral agreements because energy flows. So when we take it, we can pass it. But I think the one that probably the person who asked the question, one thing I would say is the broad question is, why do we continue to subsidize fuel when our borders are so open. Our fuel is 60% of what you'd find in Chad. Is, I think, 65% of what you find in Niger, the price here. So you subsidize here, your border is open. A guy picks up crude from here, he just takes it straight from Chad. I mean, it just makes sense. So it's exactly the same question. Why do we subsidize something here when, you know, we have porous borders? So, probably something in the same context. But to your point, why do our refineries not work? Honestly, you know, it's a very... you know, I want to tread carefully here with regards to what I say.
Does this have to do with politics or something?
No, not politics at all. But I think, you know, it's a big conundrum, because if I just compare it, so, I mean, in 2021, we spent $1.5 billion on the turnaround of Port Harcourt refinery. We're talking about it today. If you go back 5 years before that, we spent, you know, several billions again. We've just had a refinery here. Yes, it's 19.5 billion. But there's something that's come from the ground up. Now we can see it producing 650,000 barrels per day capacity. So when you look at it, honestly, I'll just call it inefficiencies. And the only way to see that is when you look at what NNPC just released. We just had the first auditor report of NNPC a couple of weeks ago. In there, you know, you see the assets that are performing and the ones that are not. And the ones that are not performing, believe it or not, are the ones that we spend the most on. You know, motor refineries, we spend so much money on them. All of them are redundant assets today.
I wonder if we have to go spiritual on this to get those refineries working. But honestly, thank you so much. You have parting words. We're out of time, actually.
For the road, it's the problem of power in Nigeria, from my own little research. It's not engineering, it's not technical. We have bright minds, we have bright engineers, we have bright technical people, you know. We have the resources. I'm thinking it's more financial, okay? And I think that's why Mr. President made a strategic appointment of the power minister. When he made that appointment, people were saying, oh no, what has got an accountant to do with the power sector? But sometimes when you follow the money, you solve your problem. So I think we're on the right track. And I believe in no time, our power situation will be solved.
There you go. Another hopeful message right there. I think we should also get parting words from Mr. Yakeriwa, so we're not leaving him out, even though he's joining us virtually from London. Parting words from you, sir.
Yeah, for me, what I would say is that the country has to conceptualize an energy sustainability solution and ensure that there is funding behind it. Because one of the major challenges that I see, like my colleague has just said, it's really about funding. There is so much that can be done in the energy value chain, whether it's about renewable energy, it's about fossil fuel, of course, whose gas is also part of fossil fuel. And whether it is about we drilling more oil wells or drilling gas wells and all of that. We have the money available in the country. It's a major challenge. Then there is also human capacity building. Have we built enough human capacity in the sector, in the energy sector in general? For me, I would say no. Yeah, we have qualified people, like my colleague has said, but there is still a lot of vacuum. There is still a lot of capacity to be built to ensure that Nigeria is self-sufficient in driving its energy goal from now into the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Momo Oyarikwa, the chairman of Crude Oil Refineries Owners Association of Nigeria, for your time joining us from London right there. And back here in the studio, we did have Mr. Oladapo Olatibosun, President, Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers. Thank you so much for sharing some of those backstories with us. And all the way from Dubai is Dr. Chinan Dikwa, the Vice Chair, African Energy Council. Thank you so much for your sacrifice to be here. And then here, Engineer Derek Ewelukwa, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Jet Motor Company. Thank you so much for your engineering. Oh, thank you. And of course, we still have our audience right here. Thank you so much for your time and your questions. We'll take another break. When we come back, the ease of doing business. We've heard it so much. It's a known phrase. But how effective has it been? We'll discuss that next.
Africans, 1 in 8 blacks on a global plane, is a Nigerian, a people of pride and pedigree, Jermaine. 200 tribes, 300 languages within our domain. We are the marrow of a people in an esteemed terrain. 36 states and 1 capital linked by a federal chain. We are diverse in our communities. We contain a vast main. From our Sahels to our hills and our forests of rain, our landscapes of beauty, our congruence is same. Our cities are vibrant, our villages move plain, but in each is an energy patriotism doth attain. The rivers, the lakes, and the springs in our lane are the wonders of nature, our miraculous gain. Nigeria is our home, rock, and all that hope does pertain. Nigeria is undeniable. Greatness runs through our vein. I am the dance of life cycle, diversities contain. I'm the world's happiest people through life's rigorous campaign. I'm the bounty, the essence, my ideal I maintain. I am nourished by my crop, by my soil, by my grain. I'm your neighbor, your friend, your child, and your dame. I am my brother's keeper. My brethren is my main. I'm the sound, the vision. I'm passion's own gain. I'm the spirit of a people, the soul, the membrane. I'm a warrior, a teacher, part of royalty's train. I'm a sage. I'm the soul. I'm what heroes ascertain. I'm the heart of Africa. I'm a vibe. I'm what echoes again. I'm the brilliance in brilliance. My achievements aren't vain. I'm a musical icon. Olympic gold I did regain. I'm a Nobel laureate with literature to entertain. I'm a scientist distinguished with a cerebral brain. I'm a nominee of an Oscar, a Grammy I did obtain. I'm a champion of soccer. In sports greatness I sustain. I'm the first black Miss World with splendor in my ingrain. I'm in the Vatican. I'm a Khalifa. My faith is my bane. I'm Ngozi Amina, shining where global power attain. I'm Samad Analiko, my wealth, my fabulous mane. I am traditional, I'm cultured, I constrain my mundane. I'm a pain, my brain drain must be put in abstain. I am vain, do not wane. I'm all that hope does remain. I'm the product of sprain, which my history will explain. I'm a Nigerian, I'm humane. I'm a giant to reign. Niger's talent organically sanction autonomy to our culture and creators, from art to gastronomy. Music, film, and all sectors must be given in sonomy. Is the future astronomy, is our new oil metonymy, enabling environmental economy through structured taxonomy. Or hail the Ministry of Art, Culture, and Creative Economy.
Nigeria is a land filled with boundless potential, talent with brilliant ideas, in dire need of funding to scale up. Are you ready to make a personal impact and change lives? Introducing the iPhilanthropy platform from the Nigeria Office for Philanthropy and Impact Investing, NPO, powered by Wema Bank. With donations starting at just $2 or 2,000 naira, you can support a project of your choice, help dreams become become a reality. Support startups and fuel job creation in key sectors such as fashion, furniture, manufacturing, sustainable agribusiness, and renewable energy. It's about making dreams come true, creating job opportunities, all from a single, easy-to-use platform. Visit i-philanthropy.org today. iPhilanthropy. Together, we can create a brighter future for Nigeria, one job at a time.
Mommy, there's something under my bed.
Happy family, happy home. You know in every room there's some Muka. Get comfort, stay refreshed. Choose Muka mattress. Sleep better, live better. Muka.
Muka, adding comfort to life.
Desire a world-class education in science and technology? Then make Bells University of Technology OTA your choice. We offer innovative and qualitative well-rounded programs in 5 colleges: engineering, environmental sciences, management sciences, natural and applied sciences, as well as food, agricultural science, and technology. Admission is currently ongoing into our undergraduate, postgraduate, and foundation programs. At Bells University of Technology, you stand a chance to acquire much more than a qualification. You gain the confidence to take on the world with knowledge to become drivers of the nation's future. The world is our stage, technology our platform. Do you aspire to be one of the best? Then choose Bells University of Technology. Visit our website www.bellsuniversity.edu.ng or the admission office at our campus in Ota. Only the best is good for Bells.
You've reached the start.
What kind of success do you look for? If it's the small kind, you can go at it alone. If it's huge, no matter how good you are on your own, you need partners. Partners who can help maximize the potential of your wealth. You've come this far, let's take you further.
Meristem, let's grow wealth for you.
Attention all land allottees in Maitama 2 District, Cadastral Zone A10, Abuja. The Federal Capital Territory Administration, through the Federal Capital Development Authority, is carrying out infrastructural development in Maitama 2 District. To facilitate this development, settle your outstanding right of occupancy and other bills for the issuance of certificate of occupancy on your property. Failure to pay may result in the withdrawal of your RFO and reallocation of the land. Names of affected allottees and the outstanding bills, as well as the remitter link for payments, will be published in the following national dailies of Wednesday, October 2, 2024. Daily Trust, The Nation, This Nigeria, The Sun, This Day, Leadership, Blueprint, Daily Telegraph, Vanguard, and Punch newspapers. Comply now and secure your property rights. This message is brought to you by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, building a better Abuja for all.
And cable. Great quality. Now with the new look.
Hey
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
We have been able to come to an era of very good leadership, committed and selfless leadership under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They should have faith in what he's doing. They should have faith in God. Because if you look at all that he's doing, it is for our today and it is for our tomorrow, it is for our children and grandchildren.
Honoring the past is an apt theme. It resonates with the renewed hope agenda and strategy where our president have said, look, let us confront our reality.
We want Nigeria to be optimistic about their country. This is a potentially very promising country, very rich country, population of over 230. We have a lot of talents here. We have people who have what it takes to reform any kind of economy or politics or whatever. I think we need to show more understanding. We need to come together. We need to work harder. We need to forge unity and understanding and momentarily forget some political differences apart, come together and agree that this country needs to move forward.
I know you have your own reaction to some of those comments made by some of the ministers right there. We had reactions here in the audience. I can imagine it's same with you at home. But I mean, it's our country. This is our country. We have to express hope. And we have to keep hope alive. And we have to walk the walk of hope to get things done. That's why we have this conversation here. It's Channels Forum. And as Nigeria celebrates 64 years of independence, we're looking at our economy. What could be done? What are some of those solutions that you could prefer? Well, we've been talking about that for some time now. We're continuing with that. But first of all, we're going to talk about maybe another message from the government angle. We have here a consultant to the Federal Ministry of Finance on Vehicle Registry, Nnamdi Nwajuba. He's right here in the studio and takes us deeper into the program today. Hi, Nnamdi. Good evening. What do you have for us?
Good evening, Ini. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're delighted to be here today as part of the ongoing campaign to sensitize on the National Vehicle Registry, to drive the importance of this National Vehicle Registry for the Nigerian economy and for the Nigerian populace. So just to very quickly bring us up to speed, the National Vehicle Registry, of course, is the national repository for vehicular information in the country. This essentially aggregates vehicular data, vehicle specifications for the purposes of shoring up revenue, plugging revenue leakages, and driving policy formulation for the purpose of national development. Now, this National Vehicle Registry is under, of course, the Federal Ministry of Finance, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, has been designed to drive a number of critical benefits for the country. Now, this is cutting across, of course, planning, which we understand is a crucial component. And in this day of data and in the importance that we see of real-time data and data analytics with the artificial intelligence and the insights that are to be drawn from this data, it has become now more crucial than ever for us to harness the existing data that we have within such a massive sub-ecosystem in our country today to drive a handful of benefits. A couple of the slides that are rolling behind me try to bring these to light, but for us to drive this around the policy formulation, we see that the way the National Vehicle Registry is strategically positioned to bolster a lot of the policy formulation that is designed to uplift the citizenry, ranging from the automotive development policy to even monitoring some of the initiatives that you hear about today, especially around CNG and electric vehicles, monitoring the impact of these policies, and of course, providing the data that formulates additional policy that would drive such initiatives forward. There's also cases of attracting foreign investments into the Nigerian vehicle ecosystem. We understand that the Nigerian vehicle ecosystem cuts across vehicle manufacturing, vehicle maintenance, of course, knowledge and skills transfer for such a large populace. Of course, we're looking at Nigeria with over about 15 million vehicles operational in the country. There's also the drive, there's also the tax evasion mitigation drive around ensuring that this real-time data bolsters the already fantastic efforts of the Nigerian Customs Service in preventing duty evasion via smuggling. There's also the efforts with the National Insurance Commission with their stellar efforts to ensure that there's a vehicle insurance revolutionization. And then there's also the work with the Central Bank of Nigeria through the National Collateral Registry to improve the access to credit for our citizens using their vehicles, of course, in collateral capacity. These are just some of the benefits of the National Vehicle Registry that are championing this initiative today. Now, moving away from the country, of course, there's the global stakeholder collaboration where we're communicating with our partners abroad around exchanging critical vehicle information on the vehicle specifications, as well as facilitating something very common in the West, which is vehicle recalls for the purpose of safety, to ensure that that bridge between Nigeria and the world is effectively closed. And then, most importantly, once more, we cannot reiterate the importance of using our artificial intelligence to harness the data that is at our disposal to drive some of these efforts. We also understand that this is driven particularly by the key stakeholder collaboration efforts with the Federal Road Safety Corps, who currently run the largest traffic information database in the country today and have stellar initiatives of their own. We've also had to interact with the Lagos State government, who have some brilliant initiatives in place for motor vehicle administration. And the essence of the sensitization of this awareness is to ensure that the citizenry understand the benefits of this noble initiative from the federal government. Happy Independence Day, everyone, and have a productive session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Namdi, for that information coming from the federal government. Now, the matter at hand is the ease of doing business. And we have here, I think I'm intimidated when you, and I wonder why there's no lady here. We have to, we have to do something about this. But we have here to discuss the ease of doing business, starting from very close to me, Dr. Gbenga Adeoye. He's a lawyer and a chartered accountant right here. And then next to him is, well, we know him, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Coleman Wires and Cable, Mr. George Onofowokan, a familiar face in our conversations right here. And the tax man, I don't know how many people are friends with, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, the tax man. We know him, he's the Chairman, Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee. And then next to him, the employers, Director General of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, Mr. Dewale Smart Oyerinde. And then next we have Chief Economist of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Dr. Olusegun Omishakin. Welcome, sir, to the program. And then MAN, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. So we can expect to get an overview maybe Mr. Onofokon will say one part of it, and then the man DG will now tell us, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadri. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's obviously a pleasure to be able to host you all. So, talking about the ease of doing business, and it's a common phrase here now, and all of that. Perhaps we should find out the reality of it with someone who has a first-hand experience. Mr. Onofokon, has this message really been practiced?
First, happy independence to everybody. The reality is no. If we have to be blunt, no. And I think we have a big capital no in recent times. Speaking to our dear brother Taiwo here about fantastic initiatives that are coming out from his committee. But it's good for it to come out. It's another thing for it to be realized by the manufacturers and for us to see the instant benefits. And simple ones, as simple as what we're talking about earlier with him, and we're talking about just importation. And you have this inconsistent, I still do not understand how the custom has become bureau de change. I don't think the philosophy of any custom anywhere in the world on fiscal policy is to balance. It's not a monetary policy, IGL-driven customs. It's only in Nigeria that our custom is IGL-based. And that's a big mistake, big error. And until the day we realize that customs is there for fiscal balancing, which is why the customs is under the Ministry of Finance, not under the CBN. It's done on purpose, so that the Minister of Finance can carry his fiscal policy role through them where necessary. And that's what they're supposed to do. But now we're turning them into an IGL-based, and it's affecting the manufacturers. So that's one. Secondly, when we talk of the ease of doing business, every time we have inconsistency in policy that is not driving manufacturing, processing, and productivity, you get a knock-on effect, because the reality is the biggest employer of labor are these people in the industry, from small scale, medium scale to large scale, irrespective. Take their numbers together, they literally generate the jobs. Now, if we don't see that they are the key and we're killing them, you're getting negatives. And sometimes you see a lot of policies coming out, but you don't see the speed at which they action them. The simplest things like the withholding tax issues, which was driven by his team again, that got implemented almost God knows how many months after they actually said it. But guess what? I had to ask him one time. I said, immediately that policy came out, signed by the minister, the next thing I had one company query that same document, saying, yes, we see that the minister has signed that withholding tax, no manufacturer will charge. Where's the Gazette? The first time I actually met with him, I asked the same question. Please, my brother Taiwo, where's the Gazette? He too could not understand what that means. The minister signed, and someone is waiting down there saying that there's no Gazette from the Ministry of Information. That has nothing to do with that policy. And you keep talking about the ease of doing business. I keep saying it is good for us to have policies, statements, I think sometimes fiat by the media team from the presidency. What we need is the reality of what those policies action into reality of how manufacturers improve productivity, capacity utilization of their businesses on a daily basis. All right, Mr. Oyedele, I think you have been implicated. You have been implicated, Mr. Oyedele. So we hear you here. You have told us how you're going to collapse about 40 taxes, and even when he signed, as he said, we're asking for the Gazette and all of that. Is your committee looking at the process that will actually bring the implementation? I know the last conversation I had with you, you did say that by next year we should expect to see those reforms having gone through those processes. But is your committee actually dealing with those gaps that stop the real implementation of these beautiful ideas?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the good thing is everybody on this panel, we're on the same team. So it is not us versus them.
So you feel safe?
Yeah, I feel very safe. I feel very safe. And those points are very valid. One of the things we have realized is we're actually all very patient, including myself, and I wish some of our recommendations have been implemented like yesterday. So essentially, when you're talking about the ease of doing business, it's one of the 3 pillars of the work of my committee, along with so many Nigerians who are members of that committee, putting in everything they can, without asking for anything in return because they love their country. And that gives us hope. We have seen some of the processes within government are very slow. The bureaucracy can be better. So one of the positives is that by going through this process of trying to do a holistic fiscal reform, we've also identified those areas where we can make things easier, and such that next time when there's an approval by the government, almost immediately you can feel the impact. I do have some good news. The good news is that the withholding tax regulation has now been gazetted. So tomorrow...
I think we should give her a round of
So the only reason why it hasn't been published today is because it's a public holiday. So first thing tomorrow, you will see a copy of the Gazette. And that provides a lot of relief, not just for manufacturers, but also for almost every other business in terms of taking away some of the burden about funding their working capital, given that interest rates are now quite really high. And also for small businesses, getting the exemption from the compliance for withholding tax. I would also tell you, and many people know this already, the Economic Stabilization Bill is also something we've worked on for many months. On Monday, it was approved by the Federal Executive Council. That's also good news. We expect in the next couple of days it will go to the National Assembly, and then it will begin the journey. And we have the commitment from the lawmakers that they would apply the speed that is necessary. The other point that my brother raised around our recommendation that the Customs Service should use a fixed exchange rate that is much lower than the actual rate hasn't been implemented. And it's a number of factors, the biggest one being that the Nigerian Customs Service law was repealed and reenacted in 2023, which is last year. And in that law, it says that the exchange rate to use for custom must be the official exchange rate. So which means even though we drafted an executive order, the president cannot just sign to override the law. So we then have to go through the process of trying to change the language in the law so that when this becomes necessary, maybe later in the future, it will not be as complicated as it is now. But I think there's general understanding within government that these interventions are extremely important. In the Economic Stabilization Bill, we are focusing on 3 major areas, which is inflation, how do you bring it down? And we have significant measures in the bills you're going to see in the next couple of days at the National Assembly in that regard. We have measures around exchange rates to strengthen the Naira and then to also give stability to the currency, and then employment, to be able to generate employment, particularly for our youth, and also to remove the bottleneck around how businesses can grow and therefore create more employment. So there are lots of things that are moving now. We're beginning to see more progress. I'll say let's keep the hope alive.
Okay, well, let me come to Mr. Kadri, DJ of Man. I know you're on the same team, so most likely you will say, oh, yes, all this math, and we are hopeful. But, I mean, we know there's the lag when policies introduced and when we feel it. You are dealing with people in the real sector. How expectant are you, even beyond the tax, that Mr. Idele is talking about? We have other areas, that has impeded the development or the way that business people would like to do, and you deal with your members from different sectors. How hopeful are you, in all of this policy and reforms?
Okay, thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I say happy Independence Day to Nigerians. We hope that our economy will become more independent, and that we'll be able to harness all the resources that Nigeria has. I can't imagine any other nation that is
in spite of everything we have to destroy ourselves, he has always kept us. I think we should be grateful for that. Essentially, manufacturers are very expectant that the changes that are being introduced get traction quite quickly, and also that low-hanging fruits that are, in fact, I don't think the fruits are hanging again. They are literally on the floor, and we just need to pick them. My chairman on the fiscal policy and tax reform has mentioned some of those things that are needed like yesterday. So it is very refreshing to see that bills are going to be speedily enacted, and that all those measures that requires the executive, that the executive arm of government, represented by the president, to sign, come to fruition. But when you talk about the ease of doing business, you need to talk about the cost of doing business. And I think that has tended to override the seeming progress that we have been making in making it easier to do business. So it's easier for you to register businesses and to get your regulations passed, but then you die soon after because of the cost, and that becomes a wasted effort. So, and there are actually quite a number of things that wouldn't require enactment, wouldn't require executive orders, and they impede manufacturing performance. One of them, very easily, is this issue of Forex. And what we have said is that Nigeria need not suffer endlessly, especially the productive sector of the economy. We don't really also have to depend on the sale of oil for us to be able to get Forex. First, we must realize all the incomes that we can get from oil. And we shouldn't have any impediments, whether human, structural, or system imposed. I mean, we should be clear about it. It's our natural resource. We should fully recover all the, let me even use the Forex that we can get from there. And we need to address the issue of diaspora remittance that has a very great potential of bringing in far more Forex than Nigeria is receiving. Those ones can help to address the foreign exchange challenges that we have. And there's one presently that I still cannot understand why we've not been able to overcome it, and it's the 2.4 billion naira unredeemed forwards with the CBN, which I think is very important. I believe that it will require the intervention of Mr. President, because I have a member, for instance, who has lost 7.2 billion naira because of this Forex exposure, for no fault of his. And 8 of our members, because of their Forex exposures, have actually lost 918 billion in the last 1 year. So I think there is need for us to look inwards and see those pressing issues that we can really deal with without going, without requiring enactment of laws and the president signing executive orders. So manufacturers generally are hopeful that if all these reforms kick in and those remedial measures that have been taken to address the dislocations that the reforms have brought are speedily implemented.
Let me bring in an accountant, especially since you've brought in such huge amounts of money, Dr. Ogbenga Adeoye. Forex is, I mean, we saw companies declare losses last year because of Forex. And then the banks that made the profit, we see them, they're now being held down with 70% windfall tax. Is there ever a way out of this Forex? We know that a country like India, they live majorly on remittances. We have a lot of Nigerians outside the country, but it does seem like even when the Forex come into the country, it is not captured. You know, how do we find a balance with this Forex issue?
Okay, let me just state 4 things first as a major problem, because you need to know where you're coming from so as to know where you're going. Number 1 is that the Nigerian government have not actually studied what they call immersing drug-drug relationship and drug-food relationship, which is policy-to-policy interaction and policy-to-reality interaction. So when you say, oh, We're floating the Naira because we don't want what is happening around tripping. You then have to look at what is the reality on ground. And so in medicine, when they give you a particular drug, they say, if you take this drug, you cannot take the other drug. If you take this drug, you cannot take a particular food. So I don't see us having increase in interest rate at the same time with Naira being floated and custom applying the same exchange rate. And then you think we're going to see improvement. And as a matter of fact, what the DG man said is that you may die before your time. So that's why when you see adverts of drugs, they will tell you, take this in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And then they end it by saying, if symptom persists after 2 days, consult your doctor. The government need to look at the symptoms in the economy. If you borrow money outside in dollars, and then your revenue is in Naira, and then you need to pay back this loan. So if you had a loan of $1 million that you need to pay before, which at the CBN exchange rate used to be about 460 million naira. I used to talk to him. Taiwo is our friend. We are all friends. And I've told him at a time that he needs to start wearing bulletproof, either bulletproof car, bulletproof clothes, because the citizens are actually interested in the reality on ground, not the theory. Yes, the policies are good, but you must note that before you start getting the fruit, the people must not die. And companies are dying, companies are closing down. I'm in practice. Taiwo have been in practice. We've had cause to work together, even in tax reforms. I believe with the numbers that we are seeing, I see numbers every day. So you had $1 million interest to pay, for example, and you needed 460 million naira to pay. But now he has loan too. You need 1.6 billion to pay that. How are you going to solve the problem? Except for the banks that are having this deposit. And you know, exchange difference in accounting, you have the realized one, the unrealized one. Those who had balances, and their balances in dollars, that should have been 460 million naira, becoming 1.6 billion. They are fine, and that's why the banks are smiling. But the manufacturers, the real sector, they are all crying. And so over time, what I have noticed with our country is that we've had a long time of mismanagement, orchestrated by incompetence, aided by corruption. That has been the issue. And if you go and check, and if you want to understand this mismanagement and competence issue, go and take the financial statement of NNPC 2022. Go to page 94. Go and see all the notes there. Go to note 38. Then you understand what I'm saying. Now, the second issue, which is a problem that I have seen so far, is that our electoral process and the process of selecting people in leadership has not favored the most intelligent people in the society. And this is the truth. And we all discuss it. We know it. And then the third thing, the fourth thing, which is the external factor, IMF, World Bank, and those funding terrorism to scatter Africa so that we don't become powerful. So these are issues that we need to address. So if you have a particular policy coming from IMF or the World Bank, you need to come home and say, as the symptom persists after 2 days, now the symptom have persisted after 1 year, then you need to consult the doctors.
Chief Economist, I think this is where you come. You really have to help us here. Because this symptom has persisted, as I said, over 1 year now. We were crying for reforms. We saw the reforms. The international bodies applauded the reforms. But one policy has, brought other consequences that are negative. So, I mean, you're Chief Economist, sir, so help us out.
Yeah, and I will start also from that the idea of, if the symptoms persist after some days, consult your doctor. But again, I will kind of, let you know that may not be practically applicable in the economy in such a simplified format as you have given it. There are trade-offs, and nobody can shy away from that. And the introductions or interventions or implementations of policies are not such that when you do it, you quickly reverse it. There are end goals, there are planning. You must know where you are going to, and you must understand some of the challenges that you meet on the way. I understand also with you that the process of policy interventions in Nigeria is highly inefficient. That is taken, but when we have this type of the economy, and I want to look at it from the structural form, the key foundation. We are looking at the business environment. You have an economy that is growing for some years now, on the average of 1.5% for the past 10 years. You have such sectors that, apart from their contributions to GDP, not having the capacity to employ people. And you have agriculture that, seems to be the base of the informal market. So, in fact, you have the whole economy as being informal. The Nigerian economy can be termed an informal economy because you have more than 90% of the activities, the employment, and so many other business-related activities that are highly informal. So that in itself is a big challenge for any efficient, reasonable policy interventions or regulatory environment. So until we take it one after the other, the first one that I'm interested in is to look at the economic stability. As long as we have this economic instability, macroeconomic instability, there is no form of interventions, there is no form of policy, regulations, or whatever that will favor businesses. And that's a fact. You have a horse fighting between high interest rates. So you have businesses who are advocating that, okay, let this thing come down. You have inflation by the other side. Mm-hmm. You have the mercy saying, let this come down. So the point is, which should you go after? That's a cost.
Isn't there a way to get a balance?
No, you can't balance when you are in a state of emergency, when you are not stable. It's like driving. Are we
in a state of emergency when you look at our indices?
Yes, of course. And I mean emergency not in the sense of the core meaning of emergency, but in terms of the fact that our macroeconomy is not showing good things. So in such a situation, the government must be very purposeful. And I think that's what people may not be really happy with. We need to see that clear direction and where we are going, and then everybody will be ready to bear the cost. But if you, for instance, if people are saying, okay, we are not interested in raising this, the MPR, we want this MPR to come down. Do you know the implication? Do you know the little gain we've gained? I mean, little gain we've had in this inflation. And then before you know, the inflation rate keeps going up. And from the research perspective, the impact of inflation on the economy is worse than that of interest rates on the economy. This is not to advocate for high interest rate, but I'm saying in terms of policy implementation and policy direction, there are some economic issues that you really need to deal with and make sure that this is done, thoroughly before you start branching.
Dr. Mishaki, a lot of people, even people here, would tell you, oh, this is just grammar. At the end of the day, can I go to the market and buy what I want to eat? Can the Naira have the value? So you continue to raise interest rate, and the manufacturers are suffering, the employers are suffering, and we say, so what's the essence of your focus if the people, as Mr. Kadri said, die before the benefit of the reforms?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Really, just like Mr. Taiwo said, we are all on the same side. We are all, we are all Nigerians.
There you go, looking for comfort.
We are all facing this. And I think it's the understanding of what is happening that we may be, we may disagree on. If, for instance, if you have, we now have inflation rate around 32% on the average, but why do we have that? What is the implication of lowered inflation rate on more than 14 million Nigerians? They were, pushed into poverty arena in the last 1 year. What is the implication on that? So there are bigger welfare issues on underground that, we may need to start talking to that will also aid ease of doing business. I mean, for instance, when you have the poverty rate so high, you have the working poor, people who are even working but who are still poor, so high, and you have the rate of informality in such a very high level, and the regulatory environment is not efficient, you are going to have the costs being borne by the private sector, and this is, of course, this is not called for.
So let's hear private sector. Neka, you are the private sector here. I know you are all on the same side. No, I see shaking of head now, but I think unless you were all on the same side, so I guess we are okay with this.
We are all friends. But we do not agree on symptoms are persistent.
Sorry, sir, let's hear what the employers are facing.
Well, for us, happy independence to Nigerians once
happy
again. And, I think Tawo is safer with me, I think the first thing is to, someone said, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you stop doing is you stop digging. If you don't stop digging, you probably will keep going down. And the fact that you stop digging doesn't mean you are out of the hole. So you still have to find either rumbles, whether you have to still chop from the hole to get yourself to that zero level before growth or development or whatever you call it, before you start seeing the signs. And we seem to forget where we are coming from. We seem to forget how bad it was or how bad it could have been if we had continued in that trajectory that we were before this administration coming. So those are the issues we basically need to deal with. And Digiman mentioned certain issues. Why things are very bad, why they are bad. We also know that government should have responded. This administration should have responded differently. While reforms are very necessary, we can't escape reforms now. Our options for reforms are almost tending to zero. They are the direction that we should go. But those reforms should also have been implemented with some level of consideration for the current situation of organized businesses and the current situation of Nigerians. As he said, you can't, I'm dying, and you promised me oxygen. So just get me the oxygen. Don't bring the oxygen when I'm gone. Because you bring the oxygen when I'm gone, it becomes problematic. So for us, and why I say Taiwo is safer with us, because so many issues that we have raised, we can see definitive action. We can see a system that is maybe slow in responding, but is taking conscious, definitive steps. We've had engagement on regulatory issues, regulatory inconsistencies. Sometimes regulators' roles overlapping. This regulator will say, this is my role. I've given you the certificate to do this. Another regulator will come and say, look, that certification doesn't apply to us. And that leaves the business in the middle. So those issues, we have raised it, and I want to commend PEBEC for the work PEBEC is doing. And Taiwo seems to be our go-to person. Once there is crisis, it's his phone that starts buzzing first. That, look, these are issues that I also need to look for us. So for us, let us deal with the inherent contradictions. If we don't deal with the contradictions inherently, then we're just going rigmarole. You have one agency of government promoting job creation, and you have another agency also creating bottlenecks to job creation. You have one agency of government promoting trade. You have another agency of government creating bottlenecks to trade. So if we don't deal with those inherent contradictions, then we'll probably be going in a rigmarole. And then we also have to deal with institutions. We've had serious issues with certain regulators that we We can't but keep calling out, And it's not because those regulation is burdensome, but in the context of the implementation of those regulations, you realize that people create, either consciously or unconsciously, they create bottlenecks and they create distortions for organized business. So has it been rosy? Absolutely not. We are like, when you lose a business, for many individuals, and sometimes they've cannibalized organized private sector that, okay, you are focused on profit. But when a business closes down, we forget that maybe 100, maybe 150 individuals will lose their job. You forget that we have incapacitated the ability of a father to pay school fees. We have incapacitated the ability of a school proprietor to generate income. We have incapacitated the ability of the yam seller or the rice seller that the proprietor is patronizing to sell. We have also incapacitated the ability of the woman selling the yam to sell because there's distortion in cash flow. So it goes beyond a business losing or closing shop or a business reducing its capacity utilization. It goes far, far beyond. And until we start seeing it, the consequences of all this action, of a manufacturing business closing down, of a service business closing down, until we start tracking what exactly are the real consequences of somebody losing his job or a business closing down, then we'll still be caught up with the Nigeria. We have big potential. We'll still be caught up with the theoretical aspect of it. And these things are not rocket science. Yeah. As you said, they are basic things, low-hanging fruits, that the fruits are already on the floor. We just have to pick them up and just...
All right, I think we're going to task Dr. Adeoye to help us with perhaps the cost of these reforms compared to the benefits. But you have some time to think about that. Now, we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. And the bottom line is that we really need to prefer solutions that are workable. The fruits are on the ground, but we still need to bend down to pick it. That's after the break. Stay with us.
Africans, 1 in 8 blacks on a global plane, is a Nigerian, a people of pride and pedigree, Jermaine. 200 tribes, 300 languages within our domain. We are the marrow of a people in an esteemed terrain. 36 states and 1 capital linked by a federal chain. We are diverse in our communities. We contain a vast main. From our Sahels to our hills and our forests of rain, our landscapes of beauty, our congruence is sane. Our cities are vibrant, our villages more plain, but in each is an energy patriotism doth attain. The rivers, the lakes, and the springs in our lane are the wonders of nature, our miraculous gain. Nigeria is our home, rock, and all that hope does pertain. Nigeria is undeniable. Greatness runs through our vein. I am the dance of life cycle, diversities contain. I'm the world's happiest people through life's rigorous campaign. I'm the bounty, the essence, my ideal I maintain. I am nourished by my crop, by my soil, by my grain. I'm your neighbor, your friend, your child, and your dame. I am my brother's keeper. My brethren is my main. I'm the sound, the vision. I'm passion's own game. I'm the spirit of a people, the soul, the membrane. I'm a warrior, a teacher, part of royalty's train. I'm a sage. I'm the soul. I'm what what heroes ascertain. I'm the heart of Africa. I'm a vibe. I'm what echoes again. I'm the brilliance in brilliance. My achievements aren't vain. I'm a musical icon. Olympic gold I did regain. I'm a Nobel laureate with literature to entertain. I'm a scientist distinguished with a cerebral brain. I'm a nominee of an Oscar, a Grammy I did obtain. I'm a champion of soccer. In sports greatness I sustain. I'm the first Black Miss World with splendor in my ingrain. I'm in the Vatican. I'm a Khalifa. My faith is my bane. I'm Ngozi Amina, shining where global power pertain. I'm Samad Analiko, my wealth, my fabulous mane. I am traditional, I'm cultured, I constrain my mundane. I'm a pain, my brain drain must be put in abstain. I am vain, do not wane. I'm all that hope does remain. I'm the product of sprain, which my history will explain. I'm a Nigerian, I'm humane. I'm a giant to reign. Niger's talent organically sanction autonomy to our culture and creators, from art to gastronomy. Music, film, and all sectors must be given in solemn. Is the future astronomy, is our new oil metonymy, enabling environmental equality through structured taxonomy. Or hail the ministry of our culture and creative economy.
And cable. Great quality, now with the new look.
Imagine a university in Abuja where the successes of the cities and high schools are converging in one place. Prime University was founded by the proprietors of the famous Capital Science Academy and Nigeria-Ghana International School. The high-quality facilities and instructional models in these schools have now been escalated into a university in Abuja. Prime University is poised to continue with the unique tradition and competitive standards found in its famous feeder school. This is a career-oriented institution where professionals, statesmen, and business leaders are prepared. The university offers tuition scholarships for applicants who wish to enroll during the first-year intake, which is currently ongoing. Prime University also offers remedial IGMB preparatory programs in all arts and science subjects. Apply now to make a date with history and align with the reputation of Capital Science Academy and Nigeria-Ghana International School. Prime University, truly incubating the future.
Mommy, there's something under my bed.
Happy family, happy home. You know in every room there's a Muka. Get comfort, stay refreshed. Choose Muka mattress. Sleep better, live better. Muka.
Muka, adding comfort to life.
It saddens me that our wildlife and forests are disappearing, and that Nigeria has become a hub for wildlife trafficking. But together, we can change this story. We can lead our region with stronger laws that prosecute more offenders. Let's create a future where people and wildlife can thrive together. Please report wildlife crime and help make Nigeria a haven for wildlife. Because protecting nature protects us all.
higher. We bring great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree. We sway in colors. We turn down deeper. We make solutions. We make fashion. Yeah, it's a destination. We are more than destination. We are Nigeria. We are Nigeria. Strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria. We are Nigeria. Together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency.
Mommy, there's something under my bed.
Happy family, happy home. You know in every room there's a Muka. Get comfort, stay refreshed. Choose Muka mattress. Sleep better, live better. Muka.
Muka, adding comfort to life.
Welcome back. It's still Channels Forum celebrating 64 years of independence in Nigeria, a look at our economy. And this time we're looking at the ease of doing business, the reforms, the costs of those reforms, and what if we did not have the reforms? That's where we stopped before we went for that commercial break. Now let's find out what the numbers man has for us, Dr. Adeoye. Perhaps if we did not have these reforms, perhaps if on that day the president did not say subsidy is gone, perhaps things would have been better.
Well, let me say that I want to commend NNPC for what they're doing now. A lot of people do not know that PMS is being subsidized for us. I think about 200 and something naira on it. And that's why the position they are taking, that they are buying from Dangote and selling to other marketers, is actually to bridge the gap. I wish they could do more, because subsidy is gone may not be the right description. Is actually subsidy have been reduced. So I would say that if they could reduce further, which is looking at the low-hanging fruit that we talk about, because when you see the low-hanging fruit, DG, NECA, and the man said the fruit is already on ground, like Taiwo also said. But the most dangerous thing is if you don't have food in view, you can actually keep fasting and endure. But when there is a promise that this food is yours, then you begin to see the saliva, the movement, and you want to catch the food. That's why government need to now look at it and say, the promises that we are making, that comfort is coming, we then need to, government need to also bear additional cost. Look, I was discussing with Coleman before now. If you have, in fact, there's an investment that I was involved in a supermarket. Your 100 million has turned to 25 million. So what are you going to do? Because the items you're buying, maybe you are filling 4 racks. The same amount is now going to fill only 1. Automatically, the number of staff, maybe there are 50 or 60 there. You should be thinking of reducing it by 2/3, 75%. So this cost is enormous on the part of the people. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. But only those that are alive to get to the end of the tunnel will see the light. If the light will be there.
If the light will be there.
So these are the areas we need to
I wanted to build on what he said. Perhaps the government needs to subsidize more and all of that. But there are those who have said the people are bearing the burden. Do we see the government bearing the burden? We've talked about the issue of costs of governance for a bit. And a lot of Nigerians say they're frustrated because you are telling us to be patient. Even today, I think the president did say we should be patient. But are we seeing those signs of patience? Perhaps if there was reduction in the cost of governance, some of those could be plowed in as subsidy for the people.
I totally agree with you. I think the reality of anything for anybody is, they say leadership is leading by example. If you tell me that I should tighten my belt, I need to see you to tighten some belt. It might not be as big as I am tightening, but at least I need to see a sign that you are tightening yours. So if I'm getting lean, you too have to follow. Now, but if you are getting fatter and I'm getting lean, I'll query your sense of direction. Now, that's the reality we're in today. Let's just say that everybody believes that you're telling all of us to be lean. Now, the reality, just for what he said, on the case of a manufacturer, is even worse. That 100 million ton 25, believe me, 25 million cannot run inside that factory and make money to pay the salary. Because there's what is called the minimum capacity utilization of your processes, which you must match. If, for instance, a factory needs to run at 40% minimum to break even, if it goes to 25, it is losing money, because what is happening is that the material going in is being eroded by the overhead. Pure and simple. So for the manufacturer, you just see them run for another 1 year, 2 years, and shut down fully. There's no option. Now, we need to be practical in solutions, and let us drive solutions. Me, I'm not a believer in let's just keep knocking, and not prefer any solution. Then we don't know where we're going. The reality is, when a gap is created by working capital, you either find more money to close the gap, just like an O, or you find something else to close the O. The problem in Nigeria we have today is that between last year and now, we've got erosion of working capital. That's the reality. That money has gone. It's now worth a lot less. Forget it, with all due respect to the economics, it's too basic. We follow some terrible trends. We were talking about it earlier. The terrible trend we're following in basic economics, which says, and this is what we're following in basic economics, it says when your inflation is high, you start increasing interest rates to rebalance the liquidity position and let people spend less. So by the time I increase your interest rate up and up, you literally spend less, and that you start driving out inflation. Basic economics. In Nigeria, we're not a money-driven economy. How many people have mortgages here? How many people are taking overdraft here? It will work in an economy where it's money-driven, loan-based, finance-based, Europe economics. America, credit Nigeria, we're not a credit practicing economy. We're money that what you have in your house is what you spend. So if you drive up interest rate, it will affect maybe 20% of the sector, which really it will be the manufacturers. 80% of the economy is not. The person selling pepper at the market did not go to the bank to borrow money to sell the pepper. So if you increase interest rate, that has zero effect on that person. But it has a lot of effect on the manufacturer that is only 20% of the total 80% borrowing. So you're not making, so when we want to create a solution, for me, I look at the solutions that make more sense to me. Now, at the point, if you look at what happened at the last set of interventions that the CBN through BOI had to come up with, which was now try to inject money into working capital, inject money into brownfield, into greenfield, to close the gap. Now, if I bring in money at 9%, 10%, it's not being stupid. You're literally trying to close that 75% drop in working capital to just give them back leverage to go back to 40%. That means they don't sack anybody. First and foremost, all the salaries, all the capacity. So that's the first thing I would have done, is how do I get them to even hold position and not sack one person? So I create leverage of money that allows them to borrow money. CBN, I agree, should not be a banker to everybody. You have BOI. You have development banks in Nigeria that can do those things. Let them do it. And when they do it, we get a solution that eases that crisis. Then the last point of view is that we look at two scenarios. Which one affects us the most? Interest rate or FX? It's FX. If FX drops 50%, believe me, all of us, inflation will go up, whether you like it or not, because everybody will pass on that cost. Anything. So when we look at it, the focus of our, I think our fiscal policy and our monetary policy should have been how do we balance the effects of FX. Now, if you look at what happened, at a point in January, Naira went to about 1,200. By February, it was almost going to 1,300. Then all of a sudden, by January, we're entering March, it was reversing to 1,000 Naira. And guess what happened to Naira? It divided woefully after that. Because the wrong move that happened then, it was a monetary policy mismatch. Why it was a monetary policy mismatch? End of January 2024, what did we do? We sold bonds into the market at over 20%. Everybody came in. It was oversubscribed 300%. We did it again in February. Then all of a sudden in March, you now strengthen the currency 20% up. If I'm a businessman, I'll sell your currency instantly and buy back the forex.
Dr. Bishaki, do you think there's a need to refocus on policies based on what Mr. Nofoko has just said?
Symptoms persist.
Yeah, well,
symptoms persist.
No. To be sincere, it's a tough situation. Let's be, there is no way you can. There is no argument, and I hope that those in the policy arena also they will understand this. Even when you have a clear purpose, you know where you are going, you know the type of the economic problems that you want to solve. I believe we still need to have a kind of an idea that will help us to minimize the cost from the other side. He has mentioned typical case of the inflation and interest rate, and how the interplay between these also impact on our FX. Yes, of course, based on the CBN's evidence, CBN said as of June this year that the money in circulation now is about 5-point-something trillion from 2.6 last year, June. So within a year, we kind of have maybe 50%, So that, from the perspective of the CBN, is a huge problem. And I believe that is one of the reasons why the drive for increasing the interest rate, has always been persistent. And of course, even when you are increasing the interest rate with the aim of capturing the inflation, the challenge is still going to be there both ways for the business people. Both ways. Even if you reduce the interest rate and the inflation is going up, just like I said, you have 100 million within 2 months. What you are having is actually 20 million. So it's a big challenge, and I think that globally, anywhere, what should be the most important thing is for us to see a clear signal. When the government shows the signal and says, I know what we're going through, but this is the approach. Let's address this. While addressing this, there could be some little interventions here and there to ease the challenges, as I said, but I think that is the core of the problem, because if we have switched the thing now, the other way we have low interest rate and we have inflation, it becomes a national problem. It affects business will be just wrecked. People will just, so it's a big challenge, and that's why I was referring to the macroeconomic instability. It's just a worry, but it's a big cost on the nation, and people will bear it. And so we hope we have more policy efficiency in doing this, so that we understand the cost on businesses, on people, on households. And finally, I think very soon the MBS will release the National Living Standard Survey. That will be for 2022-2023. And that will also help us to see the reality regarding businesses or household, inflation, welfare, and so many things. But above all, we hope that we know what we are doing as a nation and that we get out of this situation
and we'll see the lights,
yes,
at the end of it. But let me come to Mr. Kadri now. At a time like this, they say you can make lemonade out of lime. I've had some conversation with some manufacturers, and they look at how, since FX is becoming a big challenge, can we re-strategize, use more of local materials, local products? I wonder if your members are imbibing this and if it's working.
Yes, I think to a very large extent, the rational choice for a manufacturer would be to prefer that you source your raw materials locally. Even though sourcing your raw materials locally also has its own challenge. I mean, it needs to be available. And we are even beginning to see situations where manufacturers are turning to farmers. You know, you are set up your manufacturing enterprise to be able to take in raw materials and produce, but you are backward integrating to producing your own. Yes, I mean, that could be acceptable, but you then need to incentivize that movement. I mean, you are aware of the insecurity that we have in the country, which has limited access to sources of raw materials. You also need a regulatory framework that makes it effective and efficient for you to do another round of investment. But I can assure you, to answer your question, that yes, manufacturers are backward integrating. We are having this in dairy. We are having it in most of the food and beverage industries. Most of our breweries now source their grains locally. And then there is also even the government understanding and incentivizing raw material sourcing. But then we need to make it in such a structured manner. And those agencies, some of them regulatory, that are supposed to facilitate, have turned to headmasters, you know. So you basically waiting. If the only instrument you have is a hammer, every object will look like a nail to you. So you do not support a manufacturer, for instance, to be able to produce, but you are just waiting for him to err. So the regulatory cost is very high. And the environment is such that you are not aided in terms of your capacity to expand your investment. You borrow at 35%. I mean, one should commend this administration for addressing that aspect, because in our last manufacturer CEO confidence index measurement, we saw that multiple taxation was already becoming an issue, and also that access to credit was rearing its head. So we have in the stabilization plan, for instance, the 1 trillion naira that should go to the sector. We already have the 75 billion that man is working effectively with BOI to be able to give. So I think we need such incentives. We should be able to assuage the challenges we are having with continuously raising interest rate. You've done it for more than 18 months plus, and you've not done any impact assessment on the productive sector. I think you need to be able to insulate that sector so that you can reflate the economy. There is no way, except you are manufacturing cocaine, there's no way you will borrow at 35 or 30% and be able to produce in an environment where there's depressed purchases from the average Nigerians whose disposable income has suffered the battle. But I must mention one thing. I think at 64, Nigeria needs an industrial policy. An industrial policy that guides the working of government as far as industrialization is concerned. It will guide how we negotiate our international trade. It will guide how the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment connects with finance, with the CBN, with national planning. It will basically define where we want to be, and it will guide our operations. Sometimes I just wonder why we have embassies outside the country if they can't conduct intelligence. For you to be able, so they should actually be giving KPIs on how much interest you are able to facilitate, either market penetration for our products or for people to come and invest. And we must repurpose our politics. There must be consequence for government officials who make policies that ruin businesses. I mean, you make a policy today, it becomes a disaster for industries, and government simply changes it, and you walk away. We don't have this luxury in the private sector. If you make a mistake, your business is gone, and you could destroy your property. So I think we need to see that movement also on the part of government. And I must say that policy coordination is extremely important for us, because you can't operate in such a way that you don't know what to expect tomorrow. The coordinating minister is doing a fantastic job trying to bring everybody together. But I think that there must be a deliberate government policy that says that the economy is too important for us to play politics with. We should insulate it from all the bureaucratic bottlenecks and the politics, which is not purposed well. I think we need to have some coordination that gives us what to expect, when to expect it, and what are deliverables. And when we are not delivering, we need to double back to check why we have not delivered, and then be able to follow through so that we all move in the same direction, the same way. I believe that could help us to get out of the current situation.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Kadri, as you were talking, what came to my mind is it the policy we need or the implementation? Because even in this administration, we do have an app that we're supposed to measure the efficiency and KPIs of ministers. We don't seem to have heard a whole lot about that. You know, so sometimes it does seem that we do have these policies, but actually making them impactful is another.
I think we can't say more that President Tinubu has done a fantastic job in allowing the private sector to work with the public sector to design what needed to be done. And I can tell you, the stabilization plan that we have has in it, I mean, one of the components is this committee on fiscal policy. So we have the policies already, but we are slow, like you said, in implementation. And I think the people have to urge Mr. President that time is of essence. We don't have to wait until you drive more people into the poverty bracket before you...
Maybe our employers will help us, NECA will help us to talk to the president, help us urge him for this implementation.
Well, I think that was closer to... So, but having said that, I think one of the beautiful things that this government have done, one of the renowned things that we think the steps they've taken, or the steps they've refused to take, is scrapping payback. It's one of the beautiful things they've done is keeping payback. I think it was from the last administration, and the payback is still doing some human's job, trying to also get the regulators to perform the role which they're performing. For me and for colleagues, even in the private sector with MAN, I think the stabilization bill is one of the things we think can change the narration. And it was also a positive for us when the committee was formed, the presidential committee. It takes an administration with some level of guts to get that kind of team together to actually review the kind of things they've reviewed, to make the kind of fundamental recommendations that they've made, and whether it was circumstantial or whether it was deliberate, the fact that the committee has worked assiduously and come up with those recommendations, which we have to a large extent adopted in the private sector because of the far-reaching consequences, positive consequences of those recommendations, is for us to now ensure that those recommendations, they don't go the way of the same policies that you mentioned. And that comes back to building institutions that I mentioned earlier, that beyond politics, I think it's also time that we start advocating for economic institutions that are independent, irrespective of a government that comes in. Because it's easy for a government to come in and set up a policy, and then another government comes in, the next day they say they don't want those policies again. I think institutions that can be sustainable, that is national in nature and insulated, it can be absolutely insulated from politics, but significantly insulated from the whims and caprices of politicians. I think that's the next advocacy that we should be having, so that whatever we gain now in this, if the bill goes to the National Assembly and by God's grace, it passed, because the labor law bill, we still have it. We don't even know where it is now. Whether it's at the Ministry of Justice or it's at the Senate or House, we don't know where it is currently. So that this same bill, this stabilization bill, will not suffer the same consequences. If we get this bill right, passed, and those recommendations
and implemented,
we'll ensure we'll be in the trenches to make sure they are implemented, and they are implemented. I think we will have positioned ourselves to actually navigate a trajectory of growth. How fast we'll accomplish it, I don't know, but at least...
Mr. Ayodele has told us to be patient, yes? But Mr. Ayodele, if God keeping us alive, we are back here this time next year. What do you think will be counting as the gains of your committee?
Yeah, so let me say a few important things from the conversation today. So there are two very important policies of the government that people blame for the economic hardship. One of it is the fuel subsidy reduction, and then the flotation of the naira. And I think we have to come to a realization that the conversation or the debate should not be about whether those things should have been done or whether it would have been better if we had retained what we had before. That was not an option. Take the FS, for example. We're owing over 7 billion backlog. So it was actually a subsidy regime. FS subsidy regime was what we had. We had borrowed billions of dollars against our reserve. We're not even sure what the net was going to be. So the economy was collapsing. We didn't have the headroom to continue with that. I believe that if we had sustained that regime, we would be in a worse situation today than we are now. The subsidy reduction, if we had sustained it, the government was spending about 96% of their revenue just to service debt, and they were printing money to do everything else. When you keep printing money, the impact will be more devastating than what we have now. So that's also not an option. So the debate should be, are there other ways we could have done it, not whether we should have done it? I think that's very fundamental. If I want to sum it up, because I know our time is up, it's that the major problem we have today, the challenge, biggest challenge to the economy is the FX. If we can get FX to under 1,000, you have the impact everywhere. Inflation will come down, band A tariff will be maybe like half. You're going to have a lot of things would improve. What the data is showing us is that between June 14 last year, when Naira was floated, and now, we've actually received net inflow of FX. Yet our Naira has lost more value. So what we find is that we have significant illicit demand. You need to find a way to take that illicit demand out of the market so you can have only just legitimate demand. And the diaspora remittances of about 20 billion, we see about 4 to 5 within the official market. About 15 billion is being either externalized or finding its way to the black market. So the plan we're trying to do now is for the fiscal to complement the monetary to address this issue so that by this time next year, we have more good news to share, and not what we're planning to do, but what we have done.
Oh, looking forward to that, Mr. Ejele. Thank you so much. I wasn't expecting anything less. Great conversations we've had. I mean, you can imagine the eggheads that are here, but I have to thank you so much, Dr. Benga Deoye, lawyer and chartered accountant, my numbers man, and then Mr. Onofo, Chief Executive Officer of Coleman Wires and Cables, and of course, the tax man, Mr. Tayo Yedele. Thank you so much. And our employers, NECA DG, thank you so much. Chief Economist, you had a difficult time today, but well done. And of course, the DJ of Man, Mr. Kadri, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Now, let's take a break. When we come back, there's something that's not a discussion waiting for you on the other side. To stay with us.
1 in 8 blacks on a global plane is a Nigerian, a people of pride and pedigree, Jermaine. 200 tribes, 300 languages within our domain. We are the marrow of a people in an esteemed terrain. 36 states and 1 capital linked by a federal chain. We are diverse in our communities. We contain a vast main. From our Sahels to our hills and our forests of rain, our landscapes are beauty, our congruence is same. Our cities are vibrant, our villages more plain, but in each is an energy patriotism doth attain. The rivers, the lakes, and the springs in our lane are the wonders of nature, our miraculous gain. Nigeria is our home, rock, and all that hope does pertain. Nigeria is undeniable. Greatness runs through our veins. I am the dance of life cycle, diversities contained. I'm the world's happiest people through life's rigorous campaign. I'm the bounty, the essence, my ideal I maintain. I am nourished by my crop, by my soil, by my grain. I'm your neighbor, your friend, your child, and your dame. I am my brother's keeper. My brethren is my main. I'm the sound, the vision. I'm passion's own gain. I'm the spirit of a people, the soul, the membrane. I'm a warrior, a teacher, part of royalty's train. I'm a sage. I'm the soul. I'm what heroes ascertain. I'm the heart of Africa. I'm a vibe. I'm what echoes again. I'm the brilliance in brilliance. My achievements aren't pain. I'm a musical icon, Olympic gold I did regain. I'm a Nobel laureate with literature to entertain. I'm a scientist distinguished with a cerebral brain. I'm a nominee of an Oscar, a Grammy I did obtain. I'm a champion of soccer, in sports greatness I sustain. I'm the first Black Miss World with splendor in my ingrain. I'm in the Vatican, I'm a Khalifa, my faith is my bane. I'm Ngozi Amina, shining where global power pertain. I'm Samad Analiko, my wealth, my fabulous mane. I am traditional, I'm cultured, I constrain my mundane. I'm a pain, my brain drain must be put in abstain. I am vain, do not wane. I'm all that hope does remain. I'm the product of sprain, which my history will explain. I'm a Nigerian, I'm humane. I'm a giant to reign. Niger's talent organically sanction autonomy to our culture and creators, from art to gastronomy. Music, film, and all sectors must be given in sonomy. Is the future astronomy, is our new oil metonymy, enabling environmental metonymy through structured taxonomy. Or hail the Ministry of Art, Culture, and Creative Economy.
Hello, fellow compatriots. On the occasion of our 64th Independence Anniversary, I wish to share this message of renewed hope and optimism in our country, Nigeria. Ours has been a journey of ups and downs in the last 64 years, but there has been no time in the history of our country that we have sustained democratic structures as long as this time. That in itself is a big win for the people of Nigeria, who now appreciate the need to develop democratic institutions. All we now need is some patience and some hard work to make all the gains of the very bold decisions of this administration come to pass. On our parts, in the aviation sector, we have also taken some very bold policy decisions. And soon, very soon, we shall all reap the fruits of our hope, hard work, and optimism. Happy Independence Day.
So thank you all for joining us today. We are celebrating Nigeria at 64. I hope you've all had wonderful time with us here today. So it's time to cut the cake.
Okay, so before we cut the cake, yes. You know, I did promise that we're going to do something other than the conversation. This is it. And the voice and the voice you heard is the General Manager, News and Current Affairs in Channels Television, Mr. Oko, Mr. Ambrose Oko. And so I was intimidated. So I had to get our producer, Titulaya Vero, to be the other woman. But other than that, you know them. We've been talking. We have the General Manager Operations, Mr. Obuse, Mr. Patrick Obuse, and then the General Manager Academy, Mr. Kingsley Uranta. So even more intimidation, but I find comfort in Titulaya. Over to you, GM.
So we're going to cut the cake. Nigeria is 64, so let's go.
The ladies will do it, I guess.
Great. So just all stretch your hand toward the cake.
Okay.
So I go 10, 20, 30, 64.
Thank you so much for being a part of this here on Channels Television. We always ensure that we carry you along. And Nigeria celebrates 64. This conversation obviously goes on after today until we get to 65. Remember, we're looking forward to Mr. Oyedele's promise. This time next year, we'll look for those benefits. Bye-bye. Thank you and happy independence.
have a burning desire to transform your country? Can you drive this change with a profitable business? Then this is your moment. Seize the chance to win a grant of 30 million naira, gain top-tier mentorship from industry titans, and connect with an elite network of business leaders. Channels Television is once again on the hunt for young, ambitious, relentless social entrepreneurs ready to shine on the second season of the business competition show, Fund It Forward. Apply now at www.funditforward.tv. Fund It Forward, a Channels original series. Apply now. Of the business competition show.
Hello, and a warm welcome to our house. I'm Melinda Kimani. Coming up on today's episode of the program.
Apply now.
Hello, warm welcome to our house. I'm Melinda Kimani. Coming up on today's episode of the program.
Life is a stage. A bold canvas. Splash some paint on it. String some rhymes while at it. Then enjoy it on Art House. Receive life in beautiful curves, crafts, colors, and most exciting forms. Join us as we savor intriguing sights and sounds. At these times, Art House, life is art. Africans, 1 in 8 blacks on a global plane, is a Nigerian, a people of pride and pedigree, Jermaine. 200 tribes, 300 languages within our domain. We are the marrow of a people in an esteemed terrain. 36 states and one capital linked by a federal chain. We are diverse in our communities. We contain a vast main. From our Sahels to our hills and our forests of rain, our landscapes of beauty, our congruence is same. Our cities are vibrant, our villages more plain, but in each is an energy patriotism doth attain. The rivers, the lakes, and the springs in our lane are the wonders of nature, our miraculous gain. Nigeria is our home, rock, and all that hope does pertain. Nigeria is undeniable. Greatness runs through our vein. I am the dance of life cycle, diversities contain. I'm the world's happiest people through life's rigorous campaign. I'm the bounty, the essence, my ideal I maintain. I am nourished by my crop, by my soil, by my grain. I'm your neighbor, your friend, your child, and your dame. I am my brother's keeper. My brethren is my main. I'm the sound, the vision. I'm passion's own gain. I'm the spirit of a people, the soul, the membrane. I'm a warrior, a teacher, part of royalty's train. I'm a sage. I'm the soul. I'm what heroes ascertain. I'm the heart of Africa. I'm a vibe. I'm what echoes again. I'm the brilliance in brilliance. My achievements aren't vain. I'm a musical icon. Olympic gold I did regain. I'm a Nobel laureate with literature to entertain. I'm a scientist distinguished with a cerebral brain. I'm a nominee of an Oscar, a Grammy I did obtain. I'm a champion of soccer. In sports greatness I sustain. I'm the first Black Miss World with splendor in my ingrain. I'm in the Vatican. I'm a Khalifa. My faith is my bane. I'm Ngozi Amina, shining where global power attain. I'm Samad Analiko, my wealth, my fabulous mane. I am traditional, I'm cultured, I constrain my mundane. I'm a pain, my brain drain must be put in abstain. I am vain, do not wane. I'm all that hope does remain. I'm the product of sprain, which my history will explain. I'm a Nigerian, I'm humane.